the Engineers. Once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Rensselaer and Houston Fieldhouse for tonight's ECAC matchup between the Golden Knights of Clarkson University and your Engineers of Rensselaer. Let's meet the starting lineups. First, the visitors from Clarkson, starting in the goal, number 35, Nicholas Latinovich. At left defense, number 44, Terrence Emarosa. At right defense, number 5, Kelly Summers. The starting forward line for Clarkson at left wing, number 28, Kevin Sherizan. At center, number 19, Brett Gervais. And at right wing for Clarkson, number 6, Nick Pirog. The rest of the Clarkson Golden Knights and their head coach, Casey Jones. And now let's meet the starting lineup for the Engineers of RPI. Leading your Engineers on the ice tonight, please welcome the junior engineer, Nicole Stipe. Starting in the goal, a freshman from Victoria, British Columbia, number 1, Lyndon Marshall. At left defense for the Engineers, a sophomore from St. Paul, Minnesota, number 3, T.J. Samick. At right defense, a sophomore from Toronto, Ontario, number 24, Will Riley. The starting forward line for the Engineers, a sophomore from Walding, Austria, number 18, Max Reisinger. At center for the Engineers, a sophomore from Mississauga, Ontario, number 16, Jacob Hayhurst. And at right wing, a sophomore from Phoenix, Arizona, number 17, Todd Burgess. The rest of the Engineers, their head coach, Dave Smith. Assistant coaches, Nolan Graham and Dan Jewell. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please rise for the playing of the Canadian National Anthem. Now we direct your attention to the home team bench where the Troy Middle School Choir will sing the national anthem of the United States of America.
WRPI is broadcasting. We provide that broadcast on our internet stream. Once again, that is WRPI.org. You can also watch any RPI men's home hockey game live streaming on RPI TV. Surf on over to RPITV.org or check out YouTube. Search RPI TV.
I prefer the old school way, but
you don't like the moving pictures? And
no, it's
flashing.
It's dizzying, really.
Too much distraction, really.
Really,
focus. It's really. I mean, isn't your imagination the best part of your mind? And
it is, and I think we lose sight of that quite literally. Anyway, we're just about ready to drop the puck here at the Houston Fieldhouse. RPI in their home whites with black and red trim, red helmets, red pants. The Golden Knights in green with gold and white trim. Top sophomore line out there for, or excuse me, the top upperclassman line out there for Clarkson. And it'll be Jacob Hayhurst's line. We got a hand pass right off the bat, just 10 seconds in. We'll send the face-off into RPI territory, and RPI with 45 shots last night, Tom, was the most since Arizona State in 2015 here at the Houston Fieldhouse.
Yeah, it's a good sign, but again, St. Lawrence is a young team that's going to allow that kind of thing. Right now, the Engineers taking on the #1 defense in the country, but they do have a potential opening in that in net tonight for Clarkson is Nicholas Latinovich, a freshman out of Maple, Ontario, playing his very first collegiate game. This is the first moment this season that Jake Kiley has not been in the net for Clarkson.
So we'll see if the Engineers are able to take advantage of maybe some first game jitters from Latinovich. It is Jacob Hayhurst picking it up in the high slot. Backhand shot knocked away. Flip to the corner by Nick Piron. Behind the goal is Summers. Loose puck to the middle of the ice. Gathered in by Gervais. He'll work it out. Far side neutral ice. Flipped into the RPI end. Helped aside by Marshall. TJ Samek, sophomore from Minnesota, up the near wall for Max Reisinger. Took a bit of a hit. Now backing up in his own zone. Sheldon Rempel, sophomore from Calgary, Alberta, 26 points in 21 games, part of that fantastic sophomore trio for the Golden Knights. And if the RPI wants to win this game, most likely will have to keep that group completely under wraps here. Shot back into the RPI zone. Samek back to pick it up behind his own goal. He's met quickly by Sturm, hit in the corner, picked up by Whiff, and tries to backhand it out of the zone. It'll be picked up in the circle by Samek and chipped off the glass. Waiting for it oval at the line, or Polino stays on side. He'll shovel it even further. Behind the goal now, Liljegren lost an edge and went down. A hit is thrown there on Morrow, but it's the Golden Knights who come away with it, and Rempel up the near wall. Sheldon Rempel ahead for Stern, but he had to wait for him at the line. Engineers flip it back the other way. They may have just iced it. They did, says Jason Shaddy. 18:30 to go in the first period. No score, RPI and Clarkson. As we'll have a draw coming up in the Engineers' end.
Perry, as you mentioned, that dynamic duo of Devin Brasso and Sheldon Rempel. They played together for 3 years with the Nanaimo Clippers of the BCHL. And the question mark coming into last year was, were they going to still continue to be dynamic playing together at the college level? They really didn't miss a beat, and they really have stepped it up this year as well.
Jared Wilson up the near wall, tapped on further by Liljegren. Polino twisting and turning, runs into Astrin, who will play it across to the middle of the ice for Garrow. Bouncing puck at center, gathered in by McLean. John Carter McLean into the RPI zone, takes a shot. May have ramped off the stick of Wilson into the corner. Fed down low by Dalpe. And now Mike Krapavesis, senior from Oakville, Ontario. Defenseman works it out to the near side for Liljegren. Krapavesis with a team-high 11 assists. No goals for him so far this year, as he'll work behind the goal. Krapavesis in the corner. Hands it off for Billy Jerry, who's had a pretty solid freshman year for the Engineers. 6 goals, 3 assists for 9 points. Out of Wisconsin. Will be lobbed in by Jerry, knocked out of the air. They're going to say puck play to the high stick, and Terrence Amorosa probably not the best judge for a high sticking, as he stands at what, about 6'2". I always feel he played bigger than 6'2". Maybe it's just because he had so much success against RPI in his career.
Yeah, he's absolutely terrorized RPI throughout his career, and now the senior out of Kirkland, Quebec, really starting to terrorize other teams as well. He's got 5 goals this year and 16 points, and really that combination with him and Kelly Summers has been one of the top defensive pairings in the whole country.
It's nice to see him picking on someone else too. Picked up by Jesper Orval. Had a nifty little spin move last night, nearly turned it into something. That time he had it knocked away. Mears Moore back in the lineup last night for the first time in a little while. Will work up the far side board. Same exact lineup for the Engineers tonight. Couldn't get to that earlier. Now picked up by the Golden Knights. Dickinson freshman from Georgetown, Ontario, leads all ECAC hockey freshmen with 10 goals. Right behind him is Jerry with the 6. It'll be Grant up the boards, off a body, I believe, or no. They're going to call this one icing on the Engineers, send it right back down. Exactly 3 minutes in, kind of a herky-jerky start to this one, Tom. No score, but icing calls in a row, hand pass here, a high stick, puck played with a high stick there.
There hasn't really been an awful lot of flow. Neither team in the first 3 minutes of this one really able to get themselves set up. There's been a lot of kind of moving back and forth and maybe working out the kinks from last night. Both teams winners last night and looking to complete a 4-point weekend.
Here's Moore up the boards, gloved out of the air there and kept in by Tho. Pushed down low. Gathered up by Shazarian. And it'll be Tommy Grant, who digs it out of the pile, shoots it off the wall for Jesper Orval. Jesper Orval stops at his own blue line, lost the sight of the puck. He'll have to work it back into his own end for Grant, who goes cross ice for Mears Moore. Moore ahead for Max Reisinger. He's had a number of chances recently, including his second goal on the year, but he's looked more and more dangerous as his sophomore year has gone on. Morrow behind the net. Tho on further. Waiting for it at the far wall is Brasso. Brasso to center ice. Pirog taps it into the RPI zone, goes off on a change. Will Riley back to get it for RPI. 12 points on the year for Riley. A couple assists last night. And he's continued after a bit of a lull to be one of the top offensive defensemen, top young offensive defensemen in ECAC hockey. Puck played around to the corner. Hayhurst trying to dig for it right in front of the Zamboni door. Clarkson end. Hayhurst out of the pile. Centering pass. Reisinger puts it wide. It was a tough catch and handle for the left-hand shot there in the middle of the ice. And he did his best try to steer it on goal. Gloved at the boards by Brasso. Now it's down low. Hayhurst dropped it back, looking for Burgess. Went right through him and all the way down. Lyndon Marshall will have to gather it up. No, he'll let it play. As Samick will stop in the bottom of the circle and skate behind the net. Near side connection. Brady Whiffen. 5 goals, 4 assists for Whiffen on the year. Works ahead to Polino. Now Liljegren, the hero last night. Liljegren on the carry, draws a penalty here. It's going to be a hook. It's going to go on John Carter McLean. There's the whistle. Actually a hold. But nonetheless, the Engineers will be on the power play. 15-13 to go in the first period. No score. And John Carter McLean, the freshman from Basking Ridge, New Jersey, is going to be off here.
And that's just some good work by the RPI senior, just trying to keep himself moving backwards, essentially moving back and forth and forcing the defender to try and do whatever he can to hold up that motion and get himself in front of the puck. Liljegren just kept himself between the man and the puck and drew that penalty. RPI goes to the power play.
It was a power play goal last night. The Engineers won the game on trying to take their first lead of the year against Clarkson. Scored their first goal against Clarkson on the season. Here's Tierney. Near point for Wilson. Back to Tierney's one-timer. Sticked away by Latinovich. Near side boards to the point for Wilson once more. Has that big shot. Engineers will try to use it here. Wilson, center blue line. Touch pass near side wall for Burgess. Burgess back to Wilson. A one-timer. That one fired high. And Whiffen at the side of the net tried to tap it in. He was wrapped up nicely, however, by Kelly Summers. Puck comes free. Burgess walking in. Save made. And the rebound is cleared. Todd Burgess on the doorstep. Puck just fell to him. And Latinovich, much like Manella last night with an early save, keeping this one scoreless. As we saw Manella leave the game in the second period due to injury. Latinovich making his first collegiate start here for Clarkson. Spelling Jake Kiley, who's really been one of, if not the best goaltender in the country through 21 games. Into the zone comes Liljegren. He got stopped up there along the wall. Gervais leaves it in the corner. Wrapped up his throw by Liljegren. They duel. 47 to go in the power play. Under 14 left in the first period. Scoreless game here at the Houston Fieldhouse. We thank you for joining us here on WRPI. Here's Morrow. Had it taken away. Nico Sturm will try to wrap it out far side and throws it high into the netting. Might have taken a deflection. And referee, is that Chip McDonald over there? No, it's Jason Williams says it did, in fact, deflect off Liljegren's stick, so the faceoff's going to come out of the zone.
Perry, you mentioned Jake Kiley as one of the top goaltenders in the country. I would argue that probably there's only 2 choices for the top goaltender. That'd be Kiley, who leads the nation with 6 shutouts. That's 2 more than any other netminder in the NCAA. And then you've got Cale Morris from Notre Dame, really the only other goaltender that's in that discussion. They're just kind of head and shoulders above everybody else. But as you mentioned, Kiley being spelled today.
Into the zone comes Liljegren. 20 seconds to go in the power play. Into the skates of Hayhurst. Drop pass Riley. Riley fakes a shot. Far side Hayhurst in the circle. Centering pass that caught Liljegren in the skate. Bouncing puck skips through Riley out to center. Rolling puck will be gathered up in his own end. And that should just about do it for the Engineers man advantage. As it is over in 3 seconds, it'll be Prapavessis up the near side boards. McLean out of the box, 5-on-5 hockey. Engineers on the rush. Here's Emil Orval behind the goal. Freshman from Halmstad, Sweden, back to the point for Prapavessis. Far point, Grant skipped over his stick. He gathers and filters it right back down low. Emil Orval now near corner. Gets pushed off the puck there by McCarthy. Now work in front. That one was turned away. It was a good keep by Prapavessis. Found Emil Orval on the doorstep. Prapavessis again. Drop pass Tierney's way high. Caroms off the glass to the far side point. All Engineers here early. Here's Tierney's a drive. That one went wide. And it'll be played to the near side now. Tierney's. Back to the point. Jerry's there. He'll wrist one wide of the goal.
Josh Dickinson missing his stick for Clarkson, trying to kick it over on the corner.
Oh, there he is. You're pointing. Scared me. 12:21 to play in the first period. No score, but really the Engineers have the ones on the front foot here, knocking on the door.
And that was the kind of pressure we saw from the Engineers early in last night's game as well. Their MO is just to put the puck on net when they can. As you mentioned, Perry, they had well over 40 shots last night. They're looking to work their way in that direction tonight as well. Just ever since that power play has ended, just an absolute barrage. Not all of them on net, but that's still what you want to see, at least taking those shots.
Kelly Summers off the defensive zone, face-off win. It's Rempel up the near side wall. Rempel working on Moore, takes a shot right on in front. Penalty coming up here. Maybe it's going to be a trip. No, it's going to be a hook. Let's just stop guessing. 12:10 on the clock, and they're going to send Patrick Polino to the penalty box.
Well, this is one thing the Engineers need to keep under wraps if they're going to have a shot tonight, is to stay out of the penalty box. What you're seeing with Clarkson across the way is the #1 power play in the entire country. They're hitting at an average of 28.7%, which is, needless to say, pretty decent. It's more than 1 out of 4. So staying out of the box will be crucial for RPI tonight.
And defensive face-off win and a clear. Back behind the goal, Terrence Amorosa. He'll skate it up the middle, lost the puck, picked up by Morello. Morello walking in, 1-on-3, short-handed, fired way wide. Now Jerry at the boards. He'll turn one on goal, and in front for a bit of a screen, maybe deflection there was Morello, didn't get it. But RPI with the first shot of this Clarkson power play. And now Amorosa will start things out once more. He just lost the handle on it. Skating out of his own end, and the Engineers nearly capitalized. Brasso, drop pass with speed. Rempel to the RPI line. He gets knocked down. Wilson falls on top of him along the near side boards. Now Grant back towards Rempel. Good stick by Whiffen to knock it away. Now to the point for Summers. Summers holding. Walking in, looking for the back door, and a good stick again, this time by Grant to break up the pass. Now he'll try to clear. Whiffen on the catch. He'll move it into the zone. Whiffen tried a little toe drag and lost it. Knocked away by Summers. Now Amorosa again. The Engineers not shy to try and break shorthanded here. And here's Rempel into the zone. Stops and plays it back to the point for Brasso. He'll ring it down low. Waiting for it, Stern. Back to the point for Brasso. Feeds it to an empty point as the Golden Knights were changing the man there. And RPI shoots it down, and unfortunately it leaves the ice here. Must have hit the dasher or something. 10:54 to go in the first. No score. Clarkson power play has 44 seconds left on it.
And already seeing on that first power play unit for the Golden Knights the kind of speed and creativity that comes with Sheldon Rempel. He can just kind of move quickly and just be suddenly in a position to take a great shot. He had an opportunity on an open net, but unfortunately didn't get to where the puck was going to be in time to take the shot.
Puck to the point now. Pulling it back there was Egla. Kind of a special teams specialist, power play specialist for the Golden Knights, playing at the point here on the right side. 4 forwards out there for Clarkson. And now at the near wall, Dickinson working it down low, skipped over the stick of Sherazin. And RPI is able to pick it up and clear. Behind the goal to knock it down is Latinovich. If you're just joining us, Nicholas Latinovich is making his collegiate debut, a freshman for Clarkson between the pipes. No Jake Kiley tonight, who shut out RPI first 2 times out this year. Bouncing puck, neutral zone, picked up by Dickinson. Penalty about to expire. Flip towards goal and skips wide. Out of the box comes Polino. Both teams 0 for 1 on the power play. That one popped off Egla. He collides with a teammate, and that allows the Engineers to break the other way. Hayhurst with speed, lost the handle. Egla just took him off course there, trying to drive into the zone. Fed to the near side. Wilson will take a slap shot, and that one deflects wide. Behind the cage now. Burgess breaks up the clearing effort. Kicked at by Egla. He's been out there since that power play. Now they're going to call a penalty. Egla's going to go off, or excuse me, going to draw one here on Hayhurst. Fans aren't going to like it. It looked from here like Egla was kind of toppling over already, and the stick of Hayhurst just happened to be there. And
yeah, the stick was in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were both trying to move forward. Egla was kind of on an edge to begin with and ended up toppling over essentially on top of the stick. So what does it look like in real time? It's tripped. So bad luck for RPI behind the Clarkson cage. We're going to call it a bad penalty, just kind of just bad luck. It's the way everything kind of sorted out.
Unfortunate.
Victor Losegren's trying to argue the case with the officials. This never results in something changing, but maybe he's just trying to see if you can influence future calls. Really, is what you're trying to do here if you're the captain. And it's not a fruitless exercise, but in one respect, it's not going to keep RPI from being on the penalty kill again. So I can understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, I can't fault the officials for making the call that they did. It wasn't a dive. It wasn't anything that was done intentionally or with malice. But that's the way it goes in hockey. So you just got to sometimes take your lumps, and that's what you got to do for your RPI right here. They got another 2-minute penalty to kill.
Engineers have killed off now 14 straight penalties. Samarosa has it. Finds some wood to knock on. Rempel back to the point. Summers up the wall for Sheldon Rempel. Now back to the point. Down low, goal line extended to the far circle. Sheldon Rempel once more. Back to Summers at the far point. Near point, Amorosa to the wall. Quickly back across from Barrasso. A shot. That one goes wide on Marshall. Caroms around to the near boards. 1:38 on the power play, and the Engineers clear with and all the way down. A noticeable difference in the Engineers' penalty kill over the last few games. I know Coach Smith mentioned it pregame, but in this spell of 5 games, the stretch of 5 games, RPI's PK has been much improved, over 90%. Now Rempel toppling over Morello, and they're going to get him.
Yeah, this one seems a little less cut and dried as the one that we saw in the Clarkson zone. Rempel was kind of moving into the zone, and Morello tried to stand him up, but he was kind of moving in the odd direction and just kind of ended up going head over feet, head under feet, really, if you want to describe it properly. As he approached the blue line, Morello is kind of right there, impedes him just enough that tripping is the call. So RPI with a really tough spot here, trying to kill off a 5-on-3 of more than a minute.
Here's Amorosa into the zone. It'll wrap around and go behind the net. Rempel trying to walk it out in front. Drop pass there. Save made by Marshall. Right to left. He makes the glove stop. That one probably should have been in the back of the net.
That's exactly what RPI needs from their netminder. On a 5-on-3, their netminder has to be one of your biggest penalty killers. And especially when you consider the ease with which Clarkson is able to move the puck even at even strength, and the kind of creativity and flow that they've shown on the power play already tonight, you need a netminder that can get from side to side real quickly.
Clarkson wins the faceoff here. 5-on-3 from their 55 seconds if the Engineers can hold on. Summers across for Amorosa. They trade places. Summers top of the far circle. Back to Amorosa. Pulls it back. Back to Summers. Down low. Rempel. That pass off the mark. Goes behind the goal. And then good play by Wilson to shake things up back there. Knocked out of the air by Amorosa. What a play. Amorosa down low for Rempel. Walking in, and Marshall makes the save. Rempel again turning. Walking in, trying to drive it. He tries to work it around the far side, and pinned between the pads, Lyndon Marshall. Standing tall here, 25 to go in the 5-on-3.
Well, if Clarkson had scored right there, I don't think you could have blamed RPI too much. That was an amazing play by Terrence Amorosa to keep that one in the zone. He reached out with his stick along the blue line without lifting it too high, just tapped it That's a 1 in a million, well, not quite a 1 in a million, but it's maybe a 1 in 100 opportunity that he tapped that right down. And for RPI, that had to be just a bone-chilling experience to watch that stay in after they worked so hard to try and clear it out. 25 seconds left on this 5-on-3. Clarkson looking very good with the RPI penalty kill, standing tall so far.
Back to the point. Here's Amorosa across for Summers. 18 to go in the 5-on-3. Rempel broken up. Ray can't control it. Out of the zone. Amorosa just skipped over his stick. It was Tommy Grant who broke up the play just a hair. And how quickly they come back in. Drop past Rempel. Rempel walking in. Takes a shot. Saved by Marshall. And a rebound stopped by Marshall as well. Puck behind the goal. Loose to the side of the cage. Turn back out in front. And here's Brasso. Back to 5-on-4. Rempel driving in. Fed far side. They score. A power play goal, a 5-on-4, ugly 5-on-4 variety. It's Kelly Summers. It's 1-0.
Well, you kind of always felt that was coming after the penalty to Morello, especially. But even during the 5-on-3, it was almost like a sense of inevitability. This power play unit is just too good to allow them to have as much of an opportunity as they've had. They had the opportunity just prior that was killed off, and then a 5-on-3. You're just kind of playing with fire, taking that many penalties. A feather in the cap for the Engineers to kill the 5-on-3, but it was always going to be a tough task to kill the entirety of both those penalties back to back, and they just weren't able to get it done right there. That's more along the lines of Clarkson's power play being outstanding than it was RPI's penalty kill doing anything overly wrong.
Into the zone, Orval fires wide, goes behind the goal. Morello trying to knock it down there. And now in the corner, it's Burke. 7 and change to go in the first period. 1-0 Clarkson. Their third power play opportunity of the first period. Puck behind the goal now. Orval. And they dig away. And we get a whistle here. And a penalty coming up. It's going to be boarding. It's going to go on Morrow.
This is starting to look like the tenor of the game as opposed to last night where we didn't have a whole lot of penalties called. I think it was 4 called on St. Lawrence and 3 on the Engineers for the entire contest. Tonight we've already got 3 on RPI and 2 on Clarkson, and we've still got 6:47 remaining in period number 1. So we may be preparing to settle in for a penalty-filled night if this is the way that they're being called.
Face off here, one back. And it'll be Riley for Hayhurst. Pulls it back, takes a shot. That one might have hit his own man. It'll be cleared out to center and all the way down the ice. 6.5 to go in the first period. Engineers' second power play. Riley will ring it in. Liljegren lets it run for Hayhurst. Slap back behind the goal, knocked out of the air by Reisinger. They say no high stick here. Krapovets is at the wall. Down low, Reisinger. He'll ring it around. Hayhurst waiting for it at the far boards. Center blue line, Riley. Back to Krapovets at the near side. 1:18 to go in the power play. One touch pass. Riley, a drive, save made. Rebound, Krapovets. Trying to put it out in front. It came right back to him. Chance for Summers to clear, and he does.
Great shot by Riley, but Krapovets really needed to hit that rebound faster than he did. He got to it and kind of hesitated, and by that time, Latinovich was back in place.
Halfway through the power play. 5:43 to go in the first. Off for Whiffen. Back to Burgess. Burgess walking in. Glove save made by Latinovich.
Scoring on Clarkson's first goal, a power play goal at 12:32 of the first period. Kelly Summers, his third goal of the season. The assists going to Sheldon Rempel and Devin Brasso.
Face off here in the Clarkson end. 51 ticks remain on the RPI power play. Shots now even at 6 apiece. Draw one back to Tho. Tries to work it around to the far side. It's cleared. Lyndon Marshall stops it there. It was Jack Chuckham, the freshman, doing the job there for the Golden Knights. Now Wilson navigating near the neutral zone and work it to the far side. Carries in on his backhand. Forces a stick out of the hands of Gervais. Opportunity to clear, no glove down by Burgess into the slot. Drop pass there. Wilson lines one up. He hit the pipe. Wilson again on the puck now. Center blue line, here's Tierney's. Fakes a shot, pulls it back, finds Wilson. A one-timer, and that one's blocked as well. Wilson, shot blocked down and not cleared, kept in by Tierney. 7 to go in the power play. Polino back up top, partially deflected, picked up by Burgess at the near side. Burgess waiting, fed across. Tierney's in the middle, one-time fanned on by Polino. Played back to Tierney's, power play's over. Wrist shot deflects to the near side corner. Todd Burgess from a tight angle, stick save made by Latinovich. Wilson, 4.5 to go in the first. Wrist one looking for the redirect, and it was played with a high stick, so it would not have counted. And it's the Golden Knights who touch the puck next. And it's Morrow skating to center. Morrow will rip it in. Stopped there by Marshall. Grant will control. RPI 0 for 2 now on the power play. Clarkson 1 for 3. Has marked the lone goal in this one. Golden Knights with over a minute of 5-on-3 power play time. They weren't able to score on the 2-man advantage, but scored on the 1-man. As it's knocked away from Sturm, flipping it on goal. Would have been a juggling type play. Now it'll be Emil Orval to lob it out to center ice. And Chase Summers back to the near corner. Indirect off the end boards for Sturm. He'll play up the far wall. A little bit too hot to handle there for Brasso. It will be icing here on Clarkson.
The Engineers down 1-0 in this contest, but it's not for lack of trying. They certainly had their opportunities on the power play, and really, after both of the power plays they've had, they've been able to maintain control in the zone and get some decent scoring opportunities. Saw Jared Wilson hit the post during that power play chance, and another couple of golden opportunities to get one past the Golden Knights, but still 1-0 Clarkson. The Engineers still very much part of this game.
Another defensive zone face-off win for Clarkson. Face-offs currently 10-7 Golden Knights, as Sheldon Rempel leads the 2-on-2 rush into the zone. More players join. Played behind Rempel, looking for the wraparound. He'll carry it all the way out to the wall. Back for Amorosa. Shot right on, and Marshall makes the save. There's some traffic in front. Nico Sturm, not a small man there. 6'3", 207 from Augsburg, Germany, providing a screen.
One other thing to say about the Clarkson penalty kill is that they have been really aggressive tonight on both of RPI's power play opportunities. You've seen a lot of physical play, a lot of kind of aggressive challenging for the puck, and you have to give some credit to the RPI power play in those situations. They haven't panicked, and they've been able to still get some quality opportunities on those power plays.
Face-off win for the Engineers. Going for the home run pass for Reisinger, doesn't pan out. It's going to be nice here. It was, I believe, Wilson trying to feed one right down the seam for Reisinger. He couldn't connect. Something the Engineers were able to do a little bit against St. Lawrence yesterday was those 2-line stretch passes resulted in a couple of opportunities. Draw here coming up to the right of Lyndon Marshall. Shots are 8-6 Clarkson with 3:12 to go in the first period. 1-0 the number 3 Golden Knights lead. Pretty good crowd here at the Houston Fieldhouse, as you would expect for this rivalry game. To the point, blue line Amorosa couldn't keep it in. Elects to shoot it into the zone anyway. Now, I don't believe they touched up, or did they? Sherazin, I don't know if he left the zone. It won't matter now as the puck's back out to center. Summers, Amorosa in his own end. Stick handling through the middle. Amorosa to the near side. Here's Sherazin. Pulls up, drops it back. Walking in Gervais, hit a skate with a shot. Bouncing puck in the far side of the RPI zone. Lifted along by Gervais. Carries it back towards the far point. Near point, Amorosa, some space. Closed on quickly. Save made on the right pad as Jaron Burke tried to shut off the shooting angle for Amorosa. Didn't do it. And Marshall had to stick out that right leg to make the stop. Now Clarkson back to its own end. 2.5 to go in the first. Shot near side. Gervais will just chip it in. Wilson takes a look around before playing behind the goal. Left in the corner for Prapavesis. Prapavesis up the wall for Jaron Burke. Burke trying to get by Egler, couldn't do so. And now Tho plays it near side. Reaching for it is Juckum. Back to Tho. Up the far boards. Dickinson into the zone. Trying to work around Grant. He gets cut off there. Now Dickinson. One-timer try there from Morrow. Quick pass from Dickinson. And the stop was made. Here's Jesper Orval into the zone. Stick handling at the boards. Filtering it on further for Morello. He's wrapped up by Morrow in the far corner. 1:43 to play in the first. Puck comes free. Knocked down there. Picked up by Liljegren. Liljegren walking in. He fanned on the shot. Egler couldn't corral. And now it's kept in by Riley. Down low Liljegren. And now Orval to the near boards. Zegla. He has a chance to look up ice. Good look ahead pass for Dickinson. He'll shoot it in. Blocker down by Marshall. That could have been dangerous there. It kind of fell by his feet. Now Liljegren stick handling for the neutral zone. Still Liljegren on the move. Played it out of the zone for Polino. He'll actually shoot it deep. Liljegren has to touch up. He was already below the dot. And when he realized he was offside, Engineers still offside. Puck out to center. Polino touches up and they want to skate. Polino turned away from the Clarkson zone by Dalpe. He'll just shoot it in. Minute to go in the first period.
Slashing call coming up on Clarkson. Looks like Ben Dalpe is the one being called here in the final minute of the first period. Oh, never mind.
He thought it was him, but McLean.
Well, McLean thought it was him.
If that happens, they should really just put them both in the box. If you think you're guilty of a penalty and you skate over to the penalty box, you should probably stay there.
Guilty conscience, perhaps. He didn't see me putting up much of an argument.
No. I say you let him get in the box. See what happens. What are you doing here? I don't know. I thought they called a penalty on
What are you in for? Only I know.
Power play for the Engineers, their third. See if they can get one here before the end of the first period. 52 seconds left on it. Bouncing puck in the corner. Summers trying to whack it out to the near side. Pitching in is Riley, gloved down by Burgess. He'll flip it down low. Good hands from the sophomore. It'll wrap around to Hayhurst at the wall. Hayhurst waiting to the point for Prapavesis, and now Hayhurst again. Holding at the far point. Near side Prapavesis. Prapavesis back to Hayhurst. Prapavesis again. Hayhurst again in the middle for Burgess. He's all wrapped up, almost triple teamed, and the Golden Knights able to clear. They converge on him quickly. Back to the near side. Orval into the zone. His shot was blocked behind. Picked up by Morrow. He can clear and does. All the way down the ice. Under 10 to go in the period. Maybe one more rush here for RPI if they hurry. And Riley has intentions here with 4 seconds. He'll think about lining one up and takes a shot from his own side of the red line. And misses the net. Whiffen and Tho get into it. Remember, these two teams have already met twice this year, so they know each other pretty well. Throw in the playoff series last year, Tom, and even a sophomore like, or junior, I guess, Brady Whiffen knows this Clarkson group pretty well. 1-0 Clarkson after one.
The back checking that Clarkson is exhibiting here today is really quite phenomenal, and it was really exemplified by Brett Gervais right there on that last opportunity for the Engineers. Is RPI brought it into the zone, had a clear opportunity to take a shot, but then suddenly just right from behind, Gervais comes in and strips the puck away, and that's something that it takes a lot of extra effort when you're behind the puck in order to get yourself in a position to make a good play, and that's just a sample of what we've seen for 20 minutes from Clarkson, just doing a great job, even if they're behind the puck, even if they're not in a perfect position, they still kind of fight their way back and make sure that they're in a position to make a good play, and that's really what the men in front of Nicholas Latinovic have been doing to help him out here, and Latinovic looks like he's decent enough. He's Division I netminder. That's what you come to expect. You know, maybe RPI had some opportunities early on with some jitters, as you said, Perry, but weren't able to capitalize on it. And now going forward, Latinovic just knows that he's got a good group of guys in front of him to help him keep the puck out of the net, and he's a decent enough netminder as well. So still a tall task ahead for the Engineers, but they're very much still a part of this game. They're going to have some power play opportunity to start the second period, I should say. We'll take a timeout, and we'll be back in just a moment with our first intermission here from Houston Fieldhouse. Your score after one period is Clarkson 1 and RPI nothing. You're listening to live coverage of Engineers hockey at 91.5 FM WRPI Troy.
Crimson
one period of play is Clarkson 1 and RPI nothing. My name is Tom Reel, and we're going to do a quick rundown of ECAC hockey action from today. One game that took place this afternoon at the Bright Landry Hockey Center in Allston, Massachusetts. Quinnipiac taking on the Harvard Crimson, and Harvard skating out of there with a 2-2 victory after a game-tying goal. Played the third period with Ryan Donato notching his 17th goal of the season to power the Crimson to the draw. Merrick Madsen picking up the tie net for Harvard, making 28 saves on 30 stops. Keith Petrozelli the tie for Quinnipiac, who made 31 saves overall on 33 shots faced. Elsewhere in the ECAC, we've got a full slate going on. Cornell has a 1-0 lead over Brown late in the first period. A goal scored by Mitch Vanderland just a few minutes ago, actually, breaking the scoreless deadlock in that one. Princeton and Dartmouth are tied at 1 at Thompson Arena in Hanover. Goals by Matt Baker for Dartmouth, and then 30 seconds later, Ryan Kuffner tying it up for Princeton. Just up Route 7, St. Lawrence took a 2-0 lead over the Union Dutchmen with goals by Carson Jasevich and Michael Laidley. But Union has stormed right back. They scored 2 goals in the span of 13 seconds. One by Voskalias and another by Anthony Rinaldi to tie that one up at 2. That game has reached the end of the first period. And the only other score that we have for you right now, Yale has a 1-0 lead at home against Colgate. Ted Hart, the goal scorer for the Bulldogs. Joined now by an old friend, a former, I'm going to say a stand-in, but he was an occasional WRPI contributor during his time here in the Capital District. He's now an NHL.com writer for the Buffalo Sabres, and he's home for a week with the Sabres off on their bye week, I guess they call it.
Nice little vacation, yes.
Absolutely. Joe Yearden joining me in the WRPI press booth this evening, taking in some, well, one of the best teams in the country is storming into Troy with a 13-game winning streak. What'd you see from Clarkson?
Well, what I saw was a team that's very, well, aside from the penalties, a team that's very disciplined to what they want to do out there. They are very structured. They're a very big team. Not without taking a look at the program, I wasn't sure what kind of size we were going to be dealing with out there, but their blue line is very big. They play physical. It's almost like a throwback to a former era of Clarkson, where they had guys that could just play with you physically. They've got some skill, and probably not one of their best periods of the year, I would say. I thought RPI played pretty well there, aside from giving up the power play goal, but that was a good period for RPI, and one that I think Clarkson's going to want to work on a little bit and staying out of the box.
We've said for years that Union is no longer your father's Union.
Yeah.
Harkening back to the days when Union was a perennial doormat in the ECAC. It might be fair to say that this is your father's Clarkson. This is the Clarkson that established itself for 40 years in the ECAC before a downturn in fortunes, probably starting in the middle of the last decade. But this is real, and this is a team that seems geared towards gaining for the program the one thing that they've always been lacking, the one thing that, to be very fair, RPI fans have held over the heads of Clarkson fans for decades.
Yeah, the national title has eluded Clarkson for a while, but this looks like the kind of team that, if they can sort themselves out, get through the ECAC tournament without a problem, and get into the national tournament, they're a team that could be a bit troublesome for some of the other teams out there, because you don't get ranked third in the country without everybody taking notice of you, that's for sure.
And for my money, January is still a little bit too early to put a lot of stock in the pairwise, but Clarkson, number 1 in the pairwise.
Yeah, and that speaks a lot to how they got their season started off. You're not going to get the pairwise unless you're playing some good teams, and Clarkson clearly got their out-of-conference scheduling correct to be able to make that work. And with college hockey, it's always take care of business in conference, and you don't really have to worry about things. But with the pairwise, it makes it a little different. You gotta get some beef out there for your out-of-conference schedule. And You know, Clarkson, yeah, they've taken care of business in conference. They haven't lost the game yet, so that helps. But I mean, you got to have that. You got to have that beef outside of the conference. You got to be able to have those teams where you can say, all right, well, they beat everybody in conference. What they do out of conference? Well, you get a couple of big wins in there, and things change.
This is a Clarkson team that doesn't have a whole lot of star power to it. They've only got 2 NHL draft picks in the lineup tonight, Terrence Amorosa and Kelly Summers, the defensive pairing. But a lot like the team that we saw being successful up the road in Union at Union a few years ago. It's a well-rounded team that seems to play well as a team, and sometimes that's really all you don't need a team with firepower and star power. Although there is some firepower on this team. If you look at Brasso and Rempel, for sure, are just absolute. They're turning into absolute scoring studs. But it's a well-rounded team. That's really all you need to get yourself moving.
Yeah, and if you can play the appropriate team game, and I mean, that's so cliche. It's cliche to a point where it almost gets tired. But in college hockey, that's the way it is. You know, if you got the group that can make it work, you're going to go far. The Union team, a lot of people will say, hey, Shea Gostisbehere got them everything. Well, it's like, well, he had a big part in it, but there were a lot of really good teammates on that team. I mean, look at the number of guys that signed as free agents in the NHL after they were done. You know, I think 3, 4, 5 guys signed out of Union, which suddenly you're looking around the AHL and even in the NHL, you're like, well, this guy went to Union, this guy went to Union. Okay, I guess that was a pretty good team. And I think that's going to be what you're going to end up having here with Clarkson. I mean, this kind of sets the bar, sets the tone for recruiting, because now Casey Jones can go out there and say, hey, you know, listen, we're doing really well. We only got 2 NHL drafted guys here. Make a name for yourself, play 4 years, maybe you can make a name for yourself.
Absolutely. And meanwhile, RPI is still hanging around in this one.
Yeah, and you know what? Solid first period. Keep playing like that. It's going to be the classic. You're hanging around, get a bounce to go your way, maybe get a little help on the power play. They're going to be right there. I mean, they're right there now. So I think RPI's done fine so far. Just get a goal, make it even, and get this crowd back into it. Because if you get the crowd rolling in this building, anything can happen. I mean, we've seen that in Clarkson RPI games in the past. Granted, some of those are on freakout weekends, but that makes it a little different. But with this group, I mean, hey, pop a goal in there and see what happens, see what shakes loose. Last thing you want is Clarkson to get up 2-0 in this one.
All right, Joe, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Joe, happy to do it. Thanks for having me stop in.
We'll be back in just a brief moment. You'll see live coverage of NHS Hockey, 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy.
Clarkson always draws a crowd.
Yeah, he's bringing a good crowd too. That's worth mentioning.
Right, exactly. And they'll be shot down the ice by the Golden Knights. Tyranny is back to pick it up for the Engineers. Junior with 6 goals and 8 assists on the year. He'll stick handle into the zone, hands it off for Polino, and it poked away. Nico Sturm doing the job. And the Clarkson PK has 26 seconds left to kill here. Just the second opportunity for RPI. Golden Knights are 1 for 3. As it'll be moved in by Polino. Shot to the near side. Now Riley. Good corral there. Bouncing puck settled down by Prapavesis. Back to Riley up center blue line. Near side Polino holding. Back to Riley. Steps into one. And that one never got to goal. It was blocked down by Dickinson and cleared out to center ice. Moved along by Liljegren. Played around the goal. And now center gathered in here. Worked along one-handed by McLean and wide of Marshall. It'll be shot around for Reisinger. And now on further comes Prapavesis, knocked off his stick. And now Liljegren in the near corner, turning. Fed across. Prapavesis is about to leave the ice. He'll pick up the pass. Stops at the point. Prapavesis holding. Far point, Samek, a wrist shot that deflects wide, and then thrown off the pad. Latinovic from no angle by Tyranny. Now taken down behind the goal. Liljegren. RPI fans calling for something. Not going to get it. We get a whistle as the puck was underneath Liljegren. 1:59 into period number 2. It's 1-0 Clarkson, but the Engineers kind of picking up where they left off. They've had a lot of offensive zone puck time.
For the third time in as many power play opportunities, RPI doesn't convert, but they carry that momentum into the subsequent even strength time period. As after all 3 of their power plays, they've been able to maintain control in the attacking zone, even right there. Had the puck leave the zone and brought it back in and applied a little bit more pressure.
Face off here, worked around to the far side. Golden Knights trying to break out of the zone. Shot out. It's Sturm stopping in the circle. Poked away by Wilson. Kicked at. And now Brasso. Knocked away from him. Picked up by Tyranny. He'll shoot it off the glass. Gathered in by Emil Orval. Moving through center over the red line. He'll play it in softly to the corner. Amorosa over to Gather. Takes a hit. He was going to take a hit from Jerry. He was kind of laid up there. Brasso. Back across. And now carried out to center by Sturm. He'll fire in wide of goal. Glove down by Marshall. He'll leave it aside for Wilson. Immediate pressure comes from Brasso. Gathered in now by Morello from Slingerland's New York. Not too far up the road. It'll be chipped into the Clarkson zone. Picked up by Tho. Second period, 3 minutes old. Watch out in the crowd. That one took a deflection off a stick behind the Clarkson bench area. Hope everybody's all right. Someone might have caught that one in a bad spot. Hope she's all right. Face-off coming in the neutral zone.
17:03 left in period number 2. Clarkson still up 1-0. RPI would do well to get the next goal in this one because Clarkson does not look like they're ready to sit on a 1-goal lead. You wouldn't expect any team to do it. Certainly not a team as well versed as Clarkson. And now RPI off of that face-off is going to find himself back in the penalty box.
Not somewhere the Engineers should be going tonight here. It's Clarkson power play, one of the best around, and
will be the best around.
Absolutely. 28.7% coming in, and they well, right now are adding to that. They're 1 for 3. But our guy trying to make it 1 for 4 here. 16:59 to go in the second. A tripping call on Jared Burke. Send the Golden Knights back on the man advantage, leading 1-0. Dickinson trying to play it back to the point, poked away by Whiffen. Engineers doing a better job getting sticks in passing lanes as of late. It's amounted to that much better penalty kill. Here's Juckham, lost the puck in the neutral zone. Carry on further, they're offside. As that play just kind of got bottled up at the blue line.
Well, the top line of Brasso and Rebel gets all of the credit. Should also mention Nico Sturm centering that line. Deserves a little bit of the credit too. Brasso and Rebel really the kind of the engine there. But the second line of Jake Juckham and Josh Dickinson is worth taking a look at too. Dickinson has 10 goals as a freshman, which is second in the country behind Michigan State's Mitchell Lewandowski. So a pair of freshmen on that second line that are really kind of generating that extra effort. You really need more than one solid line in order to be a solid team, and Clarkson absolutely has that. And what's worse for the other fans in the ECAC, those top two lines are all freshmen and sophomores.
And another 5-on-3 slashing is called here on Jared Wilson. I'm not sure what's going on in this game. It's a parade to the penalty box. It'll be a minute 35 of 5-on-3 time.
RPI got through the first 5-on-3. It's going to be a real test for them to get through a second one.
Puck behind the goal. It's going to be Sturm. They now work to the far side. Here's Amorosa. Pulls it back, takes the shot. That one goes wide. To the point once more for Summers. Near side Amorosa. This is a longer 5-on-3 than the first one. Early in the second period, Amorosa walking in, takes a shot, saved by Marshall. Rebound poked away. Krapavess is going to try to clear, and he does all the way down. Just 4 minutes into period number 2. Second long 5-on-3 chance for the number 3 team in the country, the Clarkson Golden Knights. Now Rempel, stick handling into the zone, all the way around the net he goes. To the near side, pestered by Samek, goes a hit, puck comes free, Riley picks it up. No, he lost a handle. Had plenty of time to shoot it down. Elected to try to skate with the puck and gave it away in the neutral zone. Now Sturm walking in 2-on-1 down low. Fed across. Rempel! Bad save by Marshall! He got across with the right leg. Now Amorosa, far side, one-timer over the top as Brasso didn't catch it cleanly. Rempel got another loose stick here. Now Engineers are basically on a 5-on-2.5. Saved by Rempel, or saved by Marshall, excuse me. Shot by Summers. Engineers can't clear. One-timer stopped by the right pad. Behind the goal now, Sturm has to deal with that loose stick. It's actually the goaltender's stick. Marshall has one of the defensemen. It's Riley's walking in, far side, one-timer left pad save. Marshall needs to freeze the puck, and he's going to get a whistle here. He was playing goaltender with the right-handed shot of Will Riley's stick, and now he'll trade sticks. Get that wider one back in there.
At that point, you're just waiting for the goal to come. You weren't kidding. 2.5 men, essentially, with Riley having to give up his stick to the netminder. Marshall lost his stick. Clarkson did all he could to kick it behind the net as well. Rempel really should have scored on the near side. He hesitated too much and should have just powered it in. He tried a soft touch, and that gave Marshall all the time he needed to get to the other side.
RPI clears. Back to 5-on-4 here. What a kill this could be if the Engineers can fend off the final 15, 16 seconds or so. Juck him into the zone. Dickinson now, near sides, drops it all the way back. Shot coming, Egla, blocked in the air by Krapavess, who went sprawling in front. Puck goes behind the RPI goal. Egla at the point, trying to work it past Krapavess. 1 second to go in the power play, it's over. Dangling in front, Marshall save. Rebound, he gets a whistle. And the Engineers kill it off, and now we're going to get a penalty here. It's going to be a cross-check. Who are they going to get?
Could be either team. There's a lot of pushing and shoving going on. And I wouldn't doubt it if it's an Engineer being called here, and it absolutely is. And that's a real shame after what was an absolutely brave penalty kill by the Engineers, getting themselves through a very dangerous situation. And just seconds after the penalty is killed off, a cross-checking call going against RPI is Jake Morello, the Slingerland's New York native. Goes off just after a long penalty kill for the Engineers. And this is, it goes without saying, you don't want to take too many penalties. RPI already has. This is too many penalties against the top power play in the country. So it's the Engineers really playing with fire at this point.
Goodness, the 6th power play for Clarkson here. Nico Sturm, drop pass, look like they're offside. So they're just on. Engineers are able to clear here. All the way down the ice, Amorosa is going to head after it. Knocked down by Latinovich, who hasn't had a whole lot to do. But thanks in large part to the 6 power plays in his team's favor. Amorosa, just 7 shots on goal for RPI, 17-7 on the shots right now. But when you consider all the power plays, could even be worse. Here's Summers trying to work it down low. Wrapping around to the near corner. Rempel waits for it. Trying to work it back to the point. Broken up by Jerry. Behind the back pass for Summers. And it's tipped off the post. Rebound poked away. Another try. Loose at the side of the cage. Knocked down twice by Riley, who was playing second goaltender. Back to the point, Amorosa. Now Rempel at the near side circle. Another loose stick. It's Marshall's. He's lost it again. And this time doesn't have it back. Here's a right pad stop, trying to help the stick back to him was Riley, and he does. Puck back to the near side now. To the point for Amorosa. Cross to the far point for Summers. He nearly had his second goal. Near side, Rempel. Down low, fed across on the saucer pass, gathered in by Brasso. Drive by Summers. Save made, rebound. Can the Rangers clear? Yes, they can. All the way down from Wilson.
Second straight power play that Rempel should have scored. He should have had an opportunity right there. For whatever reason, these last two shots in the power play have just been way too lackadaisical. He needs to power those home.
13 to go in the second period. 27 seconds to go on this sixth Clarkson power play. Wrapped in by the Golden Knights around to the far side. Broken up there. Prapavesis a chance to clear. Can't do so. Egla at the point. Twisting and turning away from Polino. Walking in. Fed to the goal line extended. He gets it back there from Sherzin. Now a loose puck in front of the shot. Prapavesis able to clear. Lyndon Marshall up to 19 stops as the power play is over. Now the goal has to be stay out of the box for a second or two, and Marshall smartly is going to hold on to this one and say, I want to look at a face-off here that's 5-on-5 for once.
Yeah, RPI needs to thank their lucky stars that they're only down 1-0 after the flurry of penalties they've taken in this game. As you mentioned, Perry, only 7 shots on goal, and that's almost entirely a function of the Engineers just spending so much time killing penalties. And only being down 1-0 is an absolute gift for the Engineers. They need to open that up and find a way to make it a 1-1 game.
Well, last night the Engineers found out what a 1-0 lead can do late in the game. St. Lawrence able to tie things up. RPI trying to maybe flip the script here against the Golden Knights as we're back to 5-on-5, 12-12 to go in the second. Now walking in Mearsmore, all the way in, a backhander goes wide. Hayhurst fell down in the corner. Puck comes free, high off the glass to center. It's going to be a race for the puck, and some speed there. As Samek's going to go into the wall with Garrow. Nice job taking the angle there by TJ Samek. Garrow certainly quicker than the sophomore defenseman, but he was able to cut him off and slow up the break here. Now fed across the room here for Burgess, walking in on the backhand. Burgess in, forehand deep, and he lost it. Poked away, picked up by Liljegren. Indirect to the point for Prapavesis. Near side half wall, Hayhurst fakes the shot, fires the shot. Rebound popped out of the glove of Latinovich. Engineers stay on the attack. Prapavesis near side. Back to the blue line. He keeps it in. Still Prapavesis going on one of his adventures around the goal. Prapavesis to the near side circle, fed to the far point. Wilson takes a shot that goes wide. Latinovich didn't see it. He didn't react until it was too late, but it missed the net. Now Burgess back up top for Prapavesis. Center blue line, stick handling, fires through a screen. Rebound loose in front. It's kicked away. Back to the point now. Prapavesis again. Fakes a shot. Leaves his man reeling towards the blue line. Another one goes wide. Rebound jammed net by Hayhurst. Pops out in front. And Sherzan's going to be able to clear, but we get a penalty. As it's a great response here from RPI after they've spent so much of this game shorthanded. They go right on the attack, 5-on-5, and they draw the penalty on the Golden Knights.
Prapavesis pretty much unilaterally creating opportunities by some of his expeditions that he enjoys going on in the attacking zone, and managed to take it all the way around himself, deeped himself around defenders, getting open ice on his own. And now an opportunity as Greg Morrow takes his second penalty of the game, a cross-checking call with 10:52 left in period number 2. RPI still down 1-0 in this one, but now this is their opportunity to try to tie it up on the main advantage. They're 0 for 3 so far this evening, but they have looked good at times, both on the power play and in even strength, as they looked just ahead of the penalty tomorrow.
Draw coming up here. Face off one back by the Engineers to the point for Wilson. Working it down low. Emil Orval, side of the net, trying to jam it out in front. Is loose and fed to the near side. Comes all the way to the half wall for Tierney's. Up top for Wilson. Far side connection to Polino. Polino went through the legs of Wilson. And Tierney's does a nice job to keep it in the zone, although RPI will be hard pressed to continue. They do. Orval in. Poked away from him on the dive by Gervais. Now to the near side. This might leave the zone. It does. Tierney's will have to go move it across for Wilson in the neutral zone. His pass up the far side. Catches Polino skidding the other direction. This is lobbed high in the air. Nearly hit the scoreboard. Bouncing puck picked up by Sturm. Trying to walk in front, and a poke check by Wilson at the last possible moment. Denying Sturm of a shorthanded opportunity. Amorosa back to his own zone, slamming it ahead. Sturm thought about going after, but goes off on a change. Puck rolling behind the RPI goal halfway through the second period. Minute 7 to go. on the power play. You are listening to RPI Hockey 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy. Patrick Polino across for Hagers. And now a drop pass. Papavessis takes a shot. It was blocked. And now tied up and taken down was Emil Orval. Fans want to call, not going to get it here. Papavessis now. Near side connection to Hagers from the neutral zone out for Tyrannies. Stick handling into the zone. Stops at the blue line. Behind his own back for Hayhurst, who works up the near wall. Center blue line connection to Papavessis. Fakes a shot. Hands it off for Riley just off the bench. 35 to go in the power play. Fourth for the Engineers, and he's stick handled out of the zone. And that'll draw a whistle as he carried right back across offside. 30 seconds to go on the Engineers' man advantage. 9:22 to go in the second. It's 1-0 Clarkson.
That was a bad unforced error by Riley, especially when we consider that in the preceding 5 seconds, the Clarkson penalty kill had finally let up some of the pressure that they had on for this entire power play. This is an extremely aggressive penalty kill, as indicated by the moments where RPI was just spending time trying to keep the puck in the zone, and all of the penalty killers were well up towards the blue line at that point. Really, just an absolutely aggressive penalty kill by Clarkson.
20 seconds to go on that man advantage. Not out of the woods yet. Shot in by Riley. Pirog waiting for it at the half wall. Engineers keep it in. Near side, Liljegren picked up his team-leading 9th goal of the year last night in the game winner. Now Riley, far side connection. Burgess walking in. Back to Riley. Penalty about to expire. It's off his stick. No waiting is Morrow. Maybe a chance for a break. And luckily he wasn't released a half a second earlier. He might have had a breakaway out of the box. As it is, he'll head to the bench. And the Engineers will start things out again. 5-on-5, excuse me, Burgess. Flipped along to the far side. Liljegren will track it down to the far corner. Clarkson end. 8:34 to go in the second period. 1-0 is the Golden Knights lead. Spun to center by Rempel. But before taking a hit, RPI will fire it back in. Left aside by Latinovich. And now Rempel again. Long saucer pass. Pretty ambitious. Intercepted by Tyrannies. Orval a shot. That was Emil to the far side circle. And now Tyrannies going to take a penalty. And Rempel, RPI fans probably saying went down a little easily. It might not be wrong. But as is the case, it'll be the 7th power play of the game for Clarkson.
We've still got 8:09 left in period number 2. I mean, this is just a game that's being called extremely close. That's probably what the officials were telling the captains before the game started, that they were going to be calling this one close, and that has absolutely been the case. Offensive zone tripping call against Tyrannies. That's not one you want to categorize as a strong penalty to take, but as you mentioned, Rempel didn't exactly try to keep his feet on that one either. So it's a tough spot for the Engineers, because I really think that the strongest that we have seen Clarkson all game was that penalty kill on the last RPI power play. They were absolutely tenacious in their defensive skill, and that gets extended to the 5-on-3s that they had, the goal that they scored. I really feel like that penalty kill was kind of Clarkson flexing their muscle a little more than we've seen them so far tonight, and that's something that can create some pretty positive momentum in the Golden Knights' direction. And a power play at this juncture is really, well, been saying it all night that it's something our guys are wanting to stay away from, but the timing on this one is especially bad.
Yeah, it's can't keep putting this team on the power play. As the Engineers, they scored a couple power play goals in the first meeting, I think. But you don't want to keep going to the box. It was a 6-0 up in Potsdam. They were 2 for 3. Right, they scored on their first 2 power plays of the game. It was downhill from there for RPI. Much better on the penalty kill today, but like we've been talking about, you don't want to keep doing it. As Wilson shoots it high off the glass, and the face-offs are a big thing. The Engineers are doing a much better job in the face-off circle recently than they have been early on in the year, and it really helps, especially on the kill. If you can win that draw and fire it right down ice, you kill off a good 15-20 seconds right off the bat. That's what they're able to do here. Right back into the zone they come. Wrapped around the near corner. Nico Sturm waiting for it to the point. Amorosa trying to give it back to him. He's wrapped up by Tommy Grant. And Morello is going to have a chance to clear, and does, down the ice. Penalty was on Tyrannies, and it was for tripping. As it'll be worked up by Amorosa. Drop pass at center. Brasso across. Rempel with speed. Moving into the circle. His pass across was blocked. Billy Jerry is enough to get it out and all the way down the ice. Shots are 20-10 Clarkson. But you have to factor in that just about half of this game has been played shorthanded for RPI. Here's Brasso into the zone. Trying to make a move. Broken up and stolen away. Penalty coming up here. It's going to be interference on Clarkson, I believe. It's going to be Brasso. That'll do it for the power play.
I guess one good offensive zone penalty deserves another, and Brasso got himself behind Will Riley and just kind of threw him into the boards rather than let Riley go after that puck. Some good penalty killing prowess by the Engineers for about a minute. That helped create that penalty. So Devin Brasso, sophomore out of St. Lambert, Quebec, just outside of Montreal, hits the box for the Golden Knights, and we'll see a 4-on-4 for the next 56 seconds.
It'll end the power play for Clarkson. As that is over. And we'll play 4-on-4. Into the zone. Moore is going to take a penalty here. It's going to be interference on Mears Moore. Well, this is getting a little bit ridiculous.
But this is a fair call at the same time. I mean,
I'm just speaking purely on the play.
And on the number of penalties, yes. This is under 100% interference. RPI TV showing it pretty clearly there as Jackman comes in on that far side. Moore just puts him down well after the puck's gone. So interference by the book is interference by the book. So a lot of open ice out there for Clarkson now. Got a 4-on-3 power play coming up for the next 42 seconds, after which will be a short 4-on-4 followed by a 5-on-4 for Clarkson.
Shot coming, save made by Marshall. Rempel's going to gather it up. This is the 8th power play for Clarkson. It's going to be 4-on-4 again. There'll be another power play. There's a shot that goes wide off the base of the net on the other side. Stern picks it up, wraps it to the near side, half wall. Summers. And now walking in, it's dropped back. Amorosa, Rempel, far side connection, and that one trickles wide. And penalty is about to expire on Wilson, as it will be captain on the far side. We're 4-on-4 now. And Summers has it. Shot was blocked by Whiffen. And now Amorosa again, down low for Rempel. Rempel behind the net. Stick handling, shoots it far side. And now walking in, the shot was blocked down. Diving play is able to be cleared. As it'll be fed far side now. RPI is going to have a short power play in a moment. Only for about 15 seconds. 14 even.
Clarkson will be on.
Excuse me, Clarkson, I beg your pardon, right. As it's moved into the zone, Riley. Near side. In the Clarkson end, Morrow has it knocked away. Burgess has a man in front, tries to find him. It's broken up. Bouncing puck far side. Hayhurst gathers in, throws it in the middle of the slot, but it's going to be Clarkson breaking the other way. 3-on-2 if they hurry. Though in near side. Looking for a centering pass. Fed across. Good back check. Kratovesis got back just in time to break things up. It'll be played behind the goal. Now it's a power play for Clarkson for 14 seconds. My math was wrong. Just my ability to tell logos and colors.
Well, it's green and red. We know
right. We know how that goes for me, right?
Logos were different, though. That might have been.
that was all my bad. Yeah. 4:59 to play in the second period. 9 seconds before we get to play 5-on-5 again as Mears Moore sits in the box.
This is really going to be incredible if we get to the end of this 9 seconds and it's still 1-0, because RPI has taken more penalties than I would have dreamt that they would even consider taking, and yet they're still very much in this game.
Grant down low, penalty's about to expire. As it'll be moved up by Juckham. Carried into the zone. We're 5-on-5, and a glove saved by Marshall. He holds on. 4:41 left in the period.
Lyndon Marshall silently having himself kind of a game here. All the attention has been on all of the penalty kills that RPI has had, but as we've said, sometimes your best penalty killer has got to be your netminder. And Lyndon Marsh keeping the Engineers in this one. He now has 20 saves on 21 shots.
Moore behind the goal. Fed far side. Burke's there. And now Burke stick handling through center ice. It'll be gathered in. And corralled there by Morello across. Walking in Moore. Couldn't get this shot away. His stick was tied up at the last moment. Puck to the near side corner now. It was Juckham doing the job. Denying the junior defenseman from Duluth, Minnesota. Here's more of a chance there. Now will be lobbed ahead by Juckham. Too far for Sherazin. Gathered in by Orval. Across for Moore. Now back to Grant. Out of his own zone. Near side. Tapped into the zone by Morello. Under 4 to play in the second period. Shots are 22-10 Clarkson. It's 1-0 Golden Knights still, believe it or not. As Burke has it on the far side wall. He'll work it down low. Gathered in there by Connor McCarthy. Freshman, 6'7", 229. Haven't seen a whole lot of him this year. This is just his 5th game. 1 assist on the year. Lobbed into the RPI zone to the near corner. Will Riley's going to track it down. He'll use the end boards behind for Samek. He'll use the goal as a screen, skating to the near side of the ice. Into the middle of the neutral zone for Tierney's and moved ahead by Jerry. Hip check on Summers. Puck comes free to the far wall. And now to center. Moved out by Pirog. Dumped in by the Golden Knights. Dalpe. We get a whistle here and an offside, at a late offside as Pirog continued the chase when the Golden Knights were offside. 3:05 to play in the second. It's still 1-0 Clarkson.
You know, it's interesting. The RPI only has 10 official shots on goal, but the only thing that's really keeping me from saying that RPI is definitely going to score in this game is essentially the penalties. They're keeping themselves from getting the kind of momentum they need, but when they have the puck, when they're attacking with it, when they're at even strength, when they've been on the power play, after power plays, they're looking dangerous and looking like they can score, but they just aren't able to create enough opportunities because they've been killing so many penalties.
Shot chopped down, picked up by Prapavesis in the zone. He'll carry far side corner. Shot attempts, curiously enough, are 32-26 Clarkson, so much closer. Golden Knights have a little more accurate. The block shots are 6-5 in favor of Clarkson, actually, which is interesting considering how many power plays we've had. Now we have an icing call here on the Golden Knights. 2:37 to play in the second, and really, if RPI can get one here, really change the feeling of this game, even though they've had so many penalties to kill.
It's still a 1-goal game, so the next goal is of vital importance, essentially. Clarkson can really make this one tough on the Engineers by getting that next goal. And RPI is going to make it square if they can get the next goal, so we're kind of just hanging on the edge of our seats, waiting to see who's going to light the lamp next.
Hayhurst around the goal. Turning into the corner. He gets wrapped up there. Morrow trying to clear it past Burgess. Waiting for it. Rempel at the half boards. He'll go back behind his own net. He'll turn in front of the net. Always shifty. Sheldon Rempel. Going to go coast to coast. Carrying it far side. He's taken out of the play by Samek. And that one's lobbed out of play into the tunnel. The women's locker room here at the Houston Fieldhouse. Engineers not allowed to change here on the puck cleared out of play. Well, a faceoff coming up in their own zone.
RPI just 209 away from their 9th consecutive period against Clarkson without a goal. Dates back to the last goal RPI scored against the Golden Knights. It was on the power play in the second period of Game 2 of the first round last year in Potsdam. That goal was scored by Riley Borbay. So it's been quite a while since anyone on this roster has scored against Clarkson as well.
In the middle of the slot, shot was blocked there. Juckham. Now Reisinger can't clear. Egla getting shoved towards the blue line by Harris, but he keeps it alive. Far side, Amorosa, a shot that's blocked away by Samek. Trying to clear it out, and they do. And they will blow this one dead for icing. A minute 48 left. It's second period has come to a bit of a halt here as we're had a couple of whistles in a row, and RPI's group out there very tired. Remember, they couldn't change after clearing the puck over the boards, over the glass, and they'll have to stay on here on the icing.
And in case you were wondering, the last Engineer on this roster to score against Clarkson was Victor Milgren with a power play goal late in Game 1 of last year's tilt.
If you would have let me guess, I probably would have guessed Victor.
We'll never know.
That's true. Puck in the zone, far side, Egla. Trying to get away from Samek. Worked up the far side boards. Reisinger can't get it out. Gets some help here. Now he'll have a chance to try and clear. He just lobs it in the air. Stays in the zone. Down low connected to Egla. Egla around the goal. Trying to center, broken up. Fed to the far side. It's off to something on the far side of the ice. Far side of the net. But RPI finally able to clear. Now gathered in by the skate of Burgess. Minute 18 to go. He's all by himself in the offensive zone. He'll just sweep it in deep as RPI was changing behind him. 1:12 to play, second period. 1-0 Clarkson. And oh boy, Engineers kind of gotten away with a slash or something there along the far boards. As they're shot down the ice, they in turn just wave off the icing call. Now 2-on-2, they hit the line. Liljegren, his pass pops over the glass into the netting behind the Clarkson goal. Well, the stoppage in play. 56.5 left now in the second. Another stoppage. Shots are 22-10 Golden Knights. And this game really more reminiscent of the last time these two teams met. Aside from the fact that RPI really didn't have a whole lot going offensively in this game, I feel completely opposite tonight. I think the Engineers, if they can stay 5-on-5 or even get a power for themselves, have a good chance of scoring here.
I really do feel that. That's one of, to kind of reiterate, RPI when they're at 5-on-5 look like they're probably going to score in this game. But the really nuanced part of that is they have to stay in a position where they can keep attacking. And you're not going to do that on the penalty kill.
Polino in the corner, off the draw. Trying to turn back towards the point, twisting and turning, fell down. Chance for Morrow to clear. Loose in the middle of the slot. Liljegren trying to screen, fires a shot. Rebound Whiffen, and that one never got to goal. He's wrapped up by Gervais now. Whiffen behind the goal, trying to find Polino. Hit him in the leg. Loose in the low slot. It'll be gathered in by Gervais, who flips it off the glass to center ice. Gloved down by Wilson. Plenty of pressure comes from Dolpe. Kicked at by Tho. Gathered in by Polino. 27 to go in the period. Polino into the zone near side. Takes a shot that's blocked by Gervais. Puck goes behind the goal. Gathered in by Liljegren. Victor Liljegren on the move. Towards the near half wall and flip it around behind. Now in deep is Wilson. He takes a hit from Dolpe and goes down. Morrow shielding the puck away from Polino. And now Dolpe with some space to move up ice. He'll play it ahead to Gervais, who flips it in deep. Clarkson wants to change. 2 seconds to go and one. That'll do it for period number 2. Shots 22-11. Clarkson, they lead by just a goal. They are 1 for 9 on the power play. Now RPI 0 for 4. But the fact that the Engineers have killed off 8 and 9 is pretty big here, Tom.
That's the stat of the game by far. I mean, that's the only real reason why this is still a contest with 20 minutes left. And we talked about it for probably the last 20 minutes of real time. Is that Engineers can thank their lucky stars. Their penalty kill has come up big in this one. That's really been the difference maker. It's kind of a 5-on-3 that led to Clarkson's only goal of the game in the first period. And heading into period number 3, a 1-0 game, just as it was last night, only it was RPI that had that lead after 40 minutes, and they saw how quickly that it could evaporate. So if you're the Engineers, you have to realize last night is kind of the script. You just have to flip it in your direction and get that next goal, and suddenly game on.
Well, we have a special guest here coming up in our second intermission. Dave Starman, who will be joining me, kind of about college hockey in just a little bit. Tom, we'll have a quick break prior to that.
Absolutely. So we'll step aside and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Your score after 2 periods of play is Clarkson 1 and RPI nothing. You listen to live coverage of Engineer Hockey on 91.5 FM WRPI Troy.
Clarkson, 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy, and joining me between periods, Dave Starman. Dave, thanks so much for coming on and joining us here.
Oh, my pleasure. Fun game.
And you're telling me some stories pregame about this building and when you used to come here and broadcast. We had the pleasure of broadcasting. How do you explain to someone broadcasting from the catwalk here at the Houston Fieldhouse?
If you have vertigo, this is not the place for you. but it was fun to sit up on that catwalk because back in that era, the benches were both next to each other on this side of the ice, the side of the ice where the RPI bench is. And so when we would sit up there and broadcast games, we would try, my broadcast partner and I, that was Kenny Albert, who you know from Fox Football and baseball and MSG. Kenny and I would try to drop popcorn on the back of goalie and see who could get closest to hitting him right between the numbers. So that was kind of the thing that kept us going during games.
Yeah, but obviously you're familiar with the college hockey game, and you love it, as so many of us do. What have you seen really as changed in this game over the years?
I think we are continuing to see more depth in teams' lineups. And what's becoming obvious to me is that if you're going to be a really good team, you can't hide somebody at the bottom of your roster. And I think that between what USA Hockey's done, what Hockey Canada's been doing, and what the federations are out there, because we're seeing a lot of Euros coming over, you're just starting to see more skilled guys. It's becoming much more of a skating game. And because of that, you're seeing a much bigger emphasis on coaches recruiting skill, coaches recruiting skating, and Hockey Sense is certainly playing into it, and that's what's making the product better.
Is that something we're seeing across the board, juniors as well, or is it really a college hockey focus?
Oh, no, you're seeing it all the way down to almost down to peewees and bantams, and there's been such an emphasis on more skill development and at the younger levels through the American development model for USA Hockey that you're just seeing this bigger pool depth-wise of good players at young levels, and the reason is nobody's skipping steps anymore. Like it's not like everybody just wants to put together these elite teams to go win. Everybody's putting together teams that are good teams, but they're not skipping the basic steps that these kids need to become better players, and therefore you're just seeing a much bigger pool of good players because by the time they get into this level, they're so much more complete in what they need to be, as opposed to, I think, in the old days where you just took the great players, played the heck out of them, and then hoped they became good college guys.
Yeah, I know you mentioned the European kids, and the RPI is a number of them from Sweden, and the women's team is a couple from Denmark, but they come over. I was talking to Victor Lodgren, who's one of the seniors this year, and it seemed like they didn't have a really good understanding of what college hockey was all about and what you can gain from going to college and getting your degree, especially at a place like RPI, and also a chance to potentially play professional hockey somewhere. Is that something that people are realizing? Some more European players are realizing they can come over to the U.S. and go to school?
No question. Last year, during the World Junior Tournament, the Slovaks had a goalie, Matek Tome, who had played in North Dakota. He's back in the USHL this year. And I was talking to him about, are there guys on your team that are intrigued by what you're doing playing at UND? And he said a lot of the guys were very interested in what the college life's all about, what the opportunities are, what the routine is. And I just think that in the last 15 years or so, you've seen the message get through to the European players about what as you just mentioned, what the benefits are of not only playing college hockey, of getting that college degree, especially from some of the good schools that have Division I programs. But the other part of it is, if you're in that late bloomer category where major junior wasn't your track, then the ability to come over here and continue to play amateur hockey from 23, 24 to the point where you're coming out as a full-grown man and a full-grown player, I think that's really attractive to a lot of kids who think that their game can translate later on with proper development.
And I know you hear it from time to time that when a player gets drafted by a certain team, they don't like how they're developing college. Do you think that's changing? Do you think that mindset's changing from GMs and from coaches? Where I guess you're seeing a few more college coaches and type guys in those higher spots too as well, I'm sure.
What I think is happening is You're getting more GMs who didn't have experience as college hockey players or weren't around the college game, starting to understand what the development possibilities are for their draft picks at the NCAA level. And it's twofold. One is they're making more of a commitment to draft college players. Two is they're making more of a commitment to leaving college players in the good programs that have proven that they can develop players. And you know, I can think of a couple of GMs who, when they're talking about some of their players that are playing in the NCAA, have said, hey, you know, we could pull our guy out after a sophomore year, but why would we do that? He's in a really good program. Let him continue to develop there. That way, when he comes to us, he's that much better a player, that much more physically developed, that much more emotionally developed, that much more ready to handle what the rigors of professional hockey are going to be. And you know as well as I do, most of these guys are going to start in the American League for at least a year or two, depending on what their position is. But like, if you're playing in a really good development program at the NCAA level, why would you pull somebody out of that when you're only playing 40 games? So you're practicing and in the weight room twice as much as you're on the ice. You're coming out ready for the rigors of what professional hockey is going to be, and I think a lot of people start to understand that concept.
Where do you see the balance here on as far as you've seen good? Obviously, you're out in the Midwest quite a bit. Where do you see as far as the conferences? I know ECAC hockey's won a few championships, probably more than some people will expect out of the conference. Unions, Yales. Quinnipiac had made some appearances, obviously, in the Final Four, or the Frozen Four, excuse me. Where is the balance of power do you see this year?
It's a good question. You know, Clarkson's solid. We know that. You know, Harvard's going to be good down the road. We know that. So, you know, I think the ECAC is going to be a player, you know, towards the national tournament as they've been in recent years. And you certainly mentioned the teams that have done it. There's a part of it that thinks Yale's best hockey is in front of them. I've always liked the way Yale plays. But when you look at where it has shifted a little bit, you know, the NCHC can probably go 8 teams deep right now. Not all 8 teams to get in the tournament, but I mean, it's a solid conference with a lot of guys that are probably going to go on and play at the next level. The Big Ten, to me, is where the biggest change has happened, because the Big Ten at 6 teams, when the Big Ten was formed, you had a couple teams there with low ebb. What was going to happen to Michigan? Was Red staying? Was Red not staying? What was the Michigan State story? Is Anasta staying or is he not staying? Ohio State has gained traction. Penn State's probably come along faster than some people thought. Knowing Guy Gadowski as well as I do, I'm not that surprised. But when you take a look at now, Michigan State's made a coaching change. That program is going to all of a sudden get back to where it should be. Now that Red has retired from Michigan and Mel's there, anybody who's going to commit to being at Michigan long term, they're now willing to do that because they know who the head coach is going to be from the time they become a freshman to the time they go through their senior year. So you've got Notre Dame that's come in there and been great. The 2 Michigan schools on the right track again. Ohio State great. Penn State real good. Minnesota always competitive. Wisconsin with Granado and Marco Siki running that program, they're going to be back. So all of a sudden the Big Ten can now go 7 deep. The NCHC goes 8 deep. The balance of power to me is probably in the Midwest right now, but it's so cyclical that the ECAC will always compete, and Hockey East, to me, Eastern Massachusetts will, I think, eventually turn this thing around and continue to develop the players that they had in the past.
Speaking with Dave Starman right now, just a couple more minutes with Dave, but you're here obviously. What's your most exciting part of the year for you? Is it the Frozen Four? Is it the college hockey tournament, or is it just being able to travel arenas and see different arenas?
You're kind of all of the above. I mean, I love the World Juniors. Don't get me wrong. It's a fascinating tournament to be a part of. You know, I've done 10 of them, and they have been it's been unbelievable. But I like getting into the second round of, let's say, the ECAC playoffs where it starts to shake out. That's always my ECAC dedicated weekend, is that because the NCHC season finishes, then they go to playoffs, and then they go to the Frozen face-off. So there's no TV that weekend. So I spend it in the ECAC, and I love that weekend because the ECAC has pulled off some unbelievable upsets over the last few years. You don't know what end is up sometimes when it comes to how some of these teams are going to get to Lake Placid. So I love that time of the year. The conference tournaments to me are always fun, and then once you get to the Frozen Four, it's just everybody's so dialed in and locked in and focused in that you get 3 great games that tend to really tell the story of what the NCAA season was.
The Engineers hoping to get back there in the near future. The new coach, Dave Smith, in his first year. Obviously, you know him from previous meetings with him. What is your opinion on Dave and what he's trying to do here with this program?
I think he is a really bright, cerebral coach, and he teaches structure well, and he teaches skill well, and he does a great presentation for USA Hockey and the coaching program on linking systems together. And I think he is one of the best in the country when it comes to being able to explain to players the cyclical evolution of what this game is. You attack, you defend, you attack, you defend. There's structure through all 3 zones, and how you link that structure together to become a team game, to me, is his strength. So once he starts to get in the guys that he wants, and he gets through the players he inherited to the players that he recruited, I think you're going to see this program take some strides. He is a really, really bright, motivated, dedicated coach, and I learn from him every time I talk to him.
Absolutely fantastic. Dave Starman, thanks so much for joining us here. It was a pleasure having you on.
Oh, it's always good to be back at the Houston Fieldhouse. This is a fun place.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to RPI Hockey, where it is Clarkson 1 and the Engineers nothing. You're listening to RPI Hockey, 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy. We're back inside Houston Fieldhouse on the campus of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York, as we prepare to bring you the third period of action. Tonight's contest between RPI and Clarkson. Your score after 2 periods of play is Clarkson 1 and RPI nothing. My name is Tom Reel. I'm joined by Perry Lascaris. You're listening to your home for Engineers Hockey, 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy. Before we get started with the third period, I'd like to thank the Rensselaer Union. They provide the funding for WRPI. And all related activity of these two include WRPI's coverage of RPI hockey, football, and baseball. Just a reminder, WRPI is on the World Wide Web. Point to your browser, WRPI.org. You can pick up WRPI's broadcast 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. As long as WRPI is broadcast, we can provide that broadcast on our internet stream. Once again, that is WRPI.org. Also a reminder that you can watch any RPI men's home hockey game live streaming on the internet in full HD video. Just head on over to RPITV.org. Check them out there, or head to YouTube and search RPI TV. All right, we're ready for the third period. We'll be 5-on-5 to start. We will see how long that lasts. 22-11 on the shots in favor of the Golden Knights, but they lead just 1-0 on the scoreboard. As it'll be one back by Clarkson, and they're on their way into the zone. Middle of the circle, a backhand shot save made by Marshall. Rebound swept to the far side. Where pitching up the boards was Amorosa to keep it alive. And now a bouncing puck towards the blue line, kept in by Clarkson here. Turning with it, Sherazin. Swatted out of the air, kind of choking up on the stick was Burgess, and he gets it swatted right on him. He'll skate it ahead. Burgess in, a wrist shot deflects high off the glass behind the goal. Now a backhand try, stopped there by Latinovich. It's played out to center. RPI needs to touch up, they're offside. Backing up in his own zone, Terrence Amorosa, senior from Kirkland, Quebec. He'll now work it up the far wall on the connection there. Nico Sturm. Sturm walking in, takes a shot saved by Marshall on the chest protector. He'll hold on to it there. 53 seconds into the third period. Still 1-0 Clarkson on the lead.
Yeah, I may jinx things by saying it, and maybe I'll be proven wrong anyway, but we've seen lots of games in the past where there are plenty of penalties called in the first 2 periods, and then the referees essentially swallow the whistle for the third period. I feel like this game has that kind of vibe to it, so we'll see if we get some more flow to this period.
Puck to center ice, Whiffen trying to move it on further. And he yanked there was Sturm. He's going to draw a penalty. No, he's not. Excuse me. False alarm. Puck in the far corner. He was held up a bit.
Trying to make me a liar.
You're right. My intentions entirely. Liljegren at center ice. No penalty coming. I apologize to you and Tom. Now Liljegren plays it back to Mears Moore. Moore backing up in his own zone, plays it across for Will Riley. Now Moore near side. Through the middle of the ice, through his own legs, Tierney's near side Moore. Moore, a shot, save, rebound, and Emil Orval had a crack at it at the back door, but he was denied, and now back come the Golden Knights on the move. And not gonna get a penalty call here. Might have been a trip in the first 2 periods, but maybe not here in the third. Maybe Tom is on to something. Here's Moore, turning around to the near side circle. Fed across, Riley quickly ahead, good pass for Billy Jerry, 3-on-2 as they hit the line. Jerry throwing it on goal, rebound, Emil Orval was in the air, couldn't quite track it down, now it's in the corner. Tierney's looking to cycle, picked away there by McCarthy. Jabbed at, and Astrid, far side Egla, gets it as far as neutral ice. Shot into the zone by Dickinson. And now here's Wilson for the Engineers. Stick handling near side, connects to Jaron Berg, who lost it off of Summers. Glove down at center. Could have been called for grasping there, maybe Jesper Orval, but he doesn't. Finds Jaron Berg and then gets dumped. Berg shoots it in. Amorosa gets hit by Berg. Puck behind the goal. Garrow wrapped up, so is Summers. As it's played to the near side. Summers ahead. Amorosa takes a whack from Jesper Orval, keeps on trucking, far side, will chip it in. Krapavesis over to gather there. Shot around behind the goal for Wilson, and now near side Jaron Berg. It's not out of the zone. Popped in the air off the stick of Gervais. He's tied up by Berg. And Morello, and it's finally flipped to center. Off the skate of Amorosa in his own zone. He'll turn it quickly far side. Sherzin will spin back to his own end. Near side carry, Sherzin backhands into the RPI zone. Krapavesis waiting for it there. Tries to work it up the wall and finds Hayhurst. Jacob Hayhurst on the move. Try to drop it off to the neutral zone and swatted right back to him. And the Engineers are onside, but they lose the puck. Near side gather, it's Tho behind the net. He'll shoot it far side, too far out of the reach of Morrow, but he does track it down, chopped to center. Gathered in by Mears Moore, settles it down and rings it in. Wrapped around to the far side wall. Hayhurst will play it in the corner. Trying to shoot it back to the point, and does for Grant towards goal. Save made on the right pad. As looked like Latinovic didn't quite know where it was, but he was in the right position to make the left pad stop. Will be shot in by the Golden Knights behind the Engineers net. 16 minutes to go in the third. 1-0. Clarkson leads. Number 3 in the country, riding a 13-game winning streak. Here's Hayhurst in. Stick handling. Trying to work it down low. He's knocked down. Stern wraps around to the far side now. Waiting for it. Brasso takes a hit from Reisinger. And it'll be lobbed to center. Backing up in his own end now. Will Riley goes D-to-D. Samick ahead. Tipped along by Whiffen. Flipped on further in deep. Now Jerry Astrid. Far side for Brasso. He takes a hit from Whiffen. Back behind the goal it goes for McCarthy, and out to center ice. Sturm far side for Brasso. Slapped in on goal. Scooped up on a one-hop there by Marshall. He'll hold on for a whistle. We hadn't had one in quite some time.
RPI definitely looking more dangerous of the two teams out there in the first 4.5 minutes of period number 3. And as much as I think Sheldon Rempel probably should have scored a couple of times during the second period, I think Emil Orval had some opportunities the last time he was on the ice to put one home, especially with a gaping goal mouth to shoot at on the far side. But still couldn't put it home, and RPI still in search of their first goal of the game.
Puck out to center, hits the linesman on the far side, slows up Tierney's entrance into the zone. It'll be played back out to center by the Golden Knights. Poked at by Krapavesis, and now Jerry on the carry. Jerry in, trying to work around Amorosa. It's always a tough task. Amorosa wins that puck battle for the time being, but coming in to help out is Orval. Far side connection, Krapavesis, now center blue line. Shot by Wilson goes wide. To the near side circle. Dickinson off the boards. Waiting for it. Tierney's drops it back. Krapavesis had a man right in his face. It was Juckum. And now they both tangle along the far boards. Neutral zone into the RPI. And Egla didn't get much on the shot. It was poked away by Marshall in the end. Behind the goal now for Wilson. Fed far side corner. Krapavesis has some time to look up ice. Feeds it near side for Jerry's at the end of a shift. He'll elect to just dump it in. Wrapping around now to the far side. McLean drops it back. Tho from Morrow. Down the middle. Good connection. Dolpe off his stick into the near corner of the RPI end. Grant helps it to the far side wall. Waiting for it. Morello chips it off the boards. Kept in by the stick, by the skate of Tho. It'll wrap around back to the near side corner of the RPI end. All the way down off the stick of Well, no, it went out of play. Thought Moore had cleared it down. I don't think they're going to let the Engineers change here. Attendance tonight, Tom, 3,959.
That's about what you expect for an RPI Clarkson game in Detroit, no doubt about it. Maybe just a little bit south of 4, but certainly a nearly full house.
Close to it. For this always usually entertaining game, especially here at the Houston Fieldhouse.
And this one has been entertaining.
No penalties so far here in the third period. 13:48 left in it. Penalty coming up here.
Just literally, as you said, no penalties in this period. The arm went up.
Oh boy.
Tripping is the call, and RPI going back on the penalty kill. It's going to blunt the kind of momentum that they had going on. The guilty party is going to be Jacob Hayhurst. I believe that's the second penalty of the evening as well.
Seems like everyone's got at least one. 10th power play for Clarkson. They're 1 for 9. Draw one back. Far side now, Summers for Rempel. And now a good stick there. Puck leaves the zone. Billy Jerry doing the job shorthanded. Back to their own end now. Clarkson to move it ahead. Neutral zone. Amorosa on the move. Plays it behind the goal. Will Riley there. Knocked away from him by the long reach of Amorosa. Now Summers is tied up in deep. Digging there. Riley just trying to waste some time. There's 3 Golden Knights and 3 Engineers over there. And it's finally RPI who comes away with it. And Jerry has a chance to look up ice and feed it all the way down. Shots are 25-15 Clarkson. As Amorosa will drop it off. Maneuvering through center, Brasso poked at by Grant, can't corral. Rempel walking in, trying to jam it home from a close range. Save made by Marshall. And looked like Samek didn't think Rempel was going to just try and drive the net there, and he did. And kind of caught him off guard. Actually, Wilson, the bigger part of it. Rempel just kind of walked around him, lifted it off the chest protector of Marshall, and kind of juggled the rebound. And was able to cover in the end.
I'm sounding like a broken record at this point, but RPI's been dodging bullets left and right on the penalty kill, especially in the second period. And now they have one that they're killing off. You know, we're approaching midway through the third period. They're still hanging on to that 1-0 lead, but we've got another minute 1 left on the penalty to Hayhurst that they're going to have to get through in order to maintain that.
One back to the point, Egla. A drive, and that one goes wide. It'll bounce off the back of the net. Dickinson in the corner. Played behind. Drop back to the point once more, far side. Astrid. Egla down low for Dickinson. He's wrapped up. Sherazin behind the net, looking for a pass. He works it back to the point. One-timer, Egla, pad save made. Rebound picked up by Tierney's, and he will shoot it down after clearing the RPI blue line. 32 to go on Clarkson's 10th power play. As Astrid will work it ahead quickly. Into the zone now, Juckum. Egla. Astrid a shot. That one's blocked by the boot of Riley and picked up by Whiffen. He wants to skate shorthanded, 2-on-2 with Jerry. Whiffen in, all the way down low. He'll just be wasting some time. He takes his seat behind the goal. Penalty about to expire. 5 seconds to go on it. Here comes Nico Sturm stick handling. Nico Sturm all the way in, lost to the handle at the last moment as he raced by the goal. Will be picked up in the far side now. Walking out in front, poke check made, and it's tipped along to the far side. Brasso trying to throw it in front, and they'll be gathered in there by the Engineers. Lob far side, good saucer pass for Hayhurst. Tries to stop up at the blue line. It's broken up there. Penalty over. Clarkson 1 out of 10 on the man advantage tonight. Big collision far side as Burgess just ran over Tho. There's also some collateral damage there underneath the hit. Now Hayhurst drops it back. Moore couldn't handle the pass. And he does enough to stick it down low again. Try to stay on the attack. Hayhurst. He's wrapped up by Morrow. Work back to the point. Out of the skates, a shot coming from Moore, and a glove save made by Latinovich. And Latinovich has made some saves tonight, but he hasn't had a lot of shots like that. Just a clean look to hit a puck.
Well, if you want to feather in the RPI penalty kills cap here, consider this. Clarkson came into tonight's contest with the top power play in the country. And if looking at it real time, if we don't consider what Northeastern, Omaha, or Minnesota State have done tonight, the RPI penalty kill has knocked the Clarkson power play from first in the nation to fourth in the nation. They're currently 26.9% where they were 28.7 to start the night.
Very good, Tom. Whiffen drives the net and puts it wide. Pinching in Wilson on the near side. 10:45 to go in the third period. It's 1-0 Clarkson, despite 10 power play opportunities, and this will not be icing. They wave it off very late. Chopped at by Wilson near side boards. McLean had it for a moment. Goes squirting out to center. And we get a hand pass here. I guess that's how it got there, says Chip McDonald. Shots 27-16 Clarkson, but still just that 1 goal lead. We're 5-on-5 here with 10.5 to play.
And it really just goes without saying that, well, it doesn't go without saying, because I think I've said it about 6 times now, but now that the Engineers are back at 5-on-5 and still with that 1 goal lead, there's the back of my mind is trying to calculate exactly how this is possible. But they're still very much in it. They still got to get that next goal, and now the momentum needs to swing back in their direction now they killed off a penalty.
Puck broken up at center. McLean. Orval takes it away. Lost in the skates of Grant. He has to hook his man. That's going to be another penalty. As Giro got behind the RPI defense, and Grant mishandled the puck and turned around, and there was Giro potentially one-on-one with his goaltender, and Tommy Grant pointing at the video board. But it's going to be another power play, an 11th man advantage for Clarkson tonight.
Yeah, you can't give the 4th best power play in the country this many opportunities, Perry. I really think that.
Speaking of broken records,
yeah. You run out of things to say about it. I mean, this is the last thing RPI needed tonight was all these penalties, and it has hurt them offensively because it's killed their opportunities to create offense. That's been their #1 problem in scoring goals tonight, is just that they have been down for much of the game.
RPI again trying to prove us wrong that you can give Clarkson this many penalties. But they'll need to do it with Tommy Grant in the box here. Whiffen to take the draw. Far side of the RPI end. Diving play. Riley trying to clear it out. Can't do so. Far side Stern. Man on the back door. No. Fed to the middle of the ice. And a save made by Marshall. Rebound trying to play to the far side. A little gathered in by Summers. Glove down by Rempel. Trying to walk on Riley, who just accidentally ran into him, or maybe knew exactly where it was going. Rempel, tough man to hit. There's another loose stick, and it's the goaltenders again for the 3rd time tonight. Fed far side through everybody, picked up by Summers. Summers, as Marshall plays with another defenseman's stick. This time it's Riley's. I think it was Riley's last time. Behind the goal, Stern. Rempel up top for Summers. One-timer, Amorosa pass save. Rebound pops free. It's cleared down by Polino. All the way down the ice. Minute 13 to go. Marshall has his stick back. If it keeps working for him, he might ask to use a right-hand shot defenseman stick in the future. I wouldn't advise it. Puck out to center ice. Played there by Morello and Jerry. Although it's turned over. Now Rempel wants to skate. Has a man with him. It's Grosso. Drop pass for the 3rd man in. Sturm. A shot and he scores. It's a power play goal for Nico Sturm. And finally, Clarkson scores for the 2nd time on their 11th power play try.
Well, normally in a situation like that, I would say that was something that was going to happen at some point. Although the RPI penalty kills tonight has been good enough that you started to wonder. And it's like they got through the last one, they got through the one before that, the one before that, the one before that, the one before that. Are they going to be able to keep this up? And there was that part in your mind that says, no, they're going to score eventually if you keep giving them these opportunities. And that's exactly what really just happened there. It wasn't anything fancy. It was essentially just another one of those shots on the power play that takes advantage of the fact that there's 5 guys against 4. And you give any team, I don't care if it's the best power play or the worst power play in the country, you give any team 11 opportunities. And I guess it's technically 12 if you consider the mashup that we had late in the 2nd period where it was 5-on-4, then 4-on-4, then 4-on-3. So it pans out to Clarkson actually being 2 for 12 on man advantage tonight, which is silly when you consider there's still 9 minutes left in regulation. And RPI has only themselves to blame. Both of Clarkson's goals this evening came on the power play. And now this last one really puts them behind the 8 ball, because you're talking about a Clarkson team that hasn't given up a goal to RPI this season. This is the 3rd game that they've played. They're through 8 periods this year. We're talking 9 periods go back to next year, or last year, whatever. This 2-goal deficit with 9 minutes left probably seems like more of a mountain than it is, but for RPI, it's just a matter of their absolute conga line into the penalty box tonight has been their downfall.
We'll draw things up at center here, as now RPI finds itself down 2-0. Off the stick of Hayhurst into the near corner. Morrow tracks it down there. Stolen away by Burgess. Centering pass off the skates of Reisinger. Couldn't tap it to his stick, and now back comes Gervais, who dumps it in. Broken up by Moore. Played quickly to center from Reisinger. He takes a hit. It'll come loose to Tho. Far side connection. Tipped into the zone by Astrid. Or excuse me, Sherazin. And now here's Summers. Working behind the goal. Summers centering pass broken up. Gathered in by Burgess. He'll play it far side for Reisinger. Gathered in by Juckham. Takes a hit from Grant. He goes down. Tipped in deep by Reisinger. RPI will get it changed. 8:20 to go in the 3rd period. Up the far side wall. Intercepted by Prapavesis. He'll stick handle in for Tyrannies. Tyrannies down low. Takes a hit. Lost the puck. Dickinson picks it up. From his stomach there was Tyranny trying to break it up. Now it's shot down. This should be icing here on Clarkson, as Juckham can't beat Prapavesis down the length of the ice. We'll have a face-off back in Clarkson's end. 8:01 left, still just a 2-0 lead. If you think about it, if RPI can get one in the next minute or so, they can really put the pressure on in the closing moments of this game. They need to get that all-important first goal.
That's what it's going to take, and they need to get that goal sooner rather than later, or they're not going to have much of a shot. This is a really highly strong defensive team. Even if they've got a backup netminder in place, you're talking about the #1 defense in the country in Clarkson.
Puck moved to center. He worked down ice. Played there by Prapavesis. Far side connection is a good one to Paulino. Driving the net, Whiffen. Paulino trying to stop. It's stolen away nicely by Astrid. Just lobs it to center, and the Engineers regather there. Prapavesis near side carry into the zone. Prapavesis at the circle. Prapavesis goal line extended. Plays it around. Far side corner. Paulino's there. Fired in front, and a shot redirected by Whiffen wide from a tight angle. Prapavesis back to Whiffen. Whiffen on his backhand looking for the top right corner. Didn't go. Penalty coming up. Going to go on the Golden Knights. Marshall trying to head off here. We're going to get a touch of the puck. Wilson asking for 2. Sometimes it's tough to see the 2 fingers on a goalie glove, but he definitely threw up a 2. Just going to get the 1. It's going to be Astrid going off here. RPI goes on its 5th power play.
And we were just talking about how RPI needs a goal and need it fast, so this is where it has to come. They've got 2 minutes on the man advantage. If they don't score on it, they'll only have 5 minutes left to get 2 goals. And just the way this game overall has gone, they can't count on being able to keep pressure on for 5 minutes. It's not necessarily entirely their fault, but ultimately you have no one else to blame when you're taking penalties. So a lot of times teams that get behind get a little bit of leeway late in games on penalties, but this is really make or break for the Engineers. They've got to be the ones to score on this one.
Victor Lilgren had something to say to James Shea over there. Not sure what. It will be RPI's 5th power play. They're 0 for 4. Draw coming up here. Push back to the point for Riley. Riley hands it off for Tyrannies. Fakes the shot back to Will Riley. Played near side for Prapavesis, who gathers in off the carom, off the near wall. Far side Riley. Off for Tyrannies. Tyrannies down low through the stick of Reisinger. He gathers it up again. Back to Tyrannies. Fakes his shot. Near side Riley. Back to Tyrannies. Puck went up on edge. He'll turn and shoot it now. Rebound trying to knock it out of the air was Reisinger, who ended up whacking the goaltender in the mask. But we play on. Down low Reisinger again. Tipped away from his stick and cleared down the ice by Dickinson. Minute 23 to go on RPI's power play here. 6:37 to go in the game. 2-0. Clarkson leads. Number 3 in the country. Undefeated in ECAC hockey at 9-0. Engineers trying to give them a run for their money here as it's fed all the way down the ice. On goal, Marshall has to play it with the paddle of his stick. As we go under a minute to go on the RPI power play. It'll be Prapavessis down the middle, feeding it far side for Wilson. He'll shoot it in. It'll come down on the near corner. Gervais, whiffing, throwing his body there is Polino. Work back to the point, some room now for Prapavessis. Prapavessis holding, near side Burgess, waiting, across for Wilson. A one-timer and a save is made by Latinovic, and the Golden Knights clear. 32 seconds to go in the power play. Prapavessis will start things out once more. Prapavessis drops it off. Billy Jerry, long strides, long reach into the zone. Jerry on the move, wraps his man up in the corner. Dickinson trying to clear, nothing on it. Picked up Prapavessis at the point. Fed into the near circle, Polino. Drop pass, Wilson, one-timer. Blocked away by Dickinson. Wilson again pulls it back. The wrist shot redirected on goal. And it was Jerry who steered it right into the midsection of Latinovic, and he holds on. It was a mirror image, really, what the Engineers didn't win last night's game. A redirection from the middle of the slot, only this time it was right at the goalie.
It's the right idea. Billy Jerry doing what he needs to do on that power play, sitting there in the slot looking for that redirection. Just didn't get it redirected in the right spot. You know, it's really like you can pick your spots sometimes on those redirects, so you just gotta put your stick on it and hope it's going in the direction that the goaltender isn't, and it didn't.
6 to go on the power play, wrapped up in the corner. That should do it for the man advantage. Clarkson a chance to clear. It's Morrow ahead. As Sturm on for Gervais. Power play's over. Puck comes in on goal. Mishandled by Marshall. And the puck comes out. Eventually the Engineers will clear it to safety. You are listening to RPI Hockey, 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy. Paris Garrison, Tom Reel from the Houston Fieldhouse. 2-0 is the Clarkson lead, but they can't clear the zone. Down low, Emil Orval behind the net, trying to work away from Summers. And he goes down. He was tripped. Penalty coming up. Or a cross-check.
Which is a penalty.
Still a penalty. Kelly Summers going off here. It's the 6th RPI power play. And again, a window of opportunity for the Engineers with 4:51 to play.
That window is rapidly closing for RPI. I mean, the important part about not scoring on that last power play is not so much that they are, you know, they are getting another power play here, but they're doing that so with 2 minutes less to score overall.
Right.
They're 4:51 left in regulation. They need 2 goals. So as much as they needed one in the last one, they really need one now. And
it's essentially a must score.
Yes, because in part because if they don't, it's 2 minutes more gone off the clock. So
time,
crucial moment.
Right, working against the Engineers here, but they work it down low off the faceoff and win. A shot off the mask, I think, by Hayhurst. It'll stay on the ice surface in the far corner. Tho trying to clear and does. As Hayhurst walked it out in front, he tried the tight angle shot. I think it caught the mask of Latinovic. Engineers up to 19 shots here. Stick handling through the neutral zone. Hayhurst near side handoff. Fed across, loose puck, poked to center. Chance for a shorthanded breakaway. Garrow walking in. Garrow on his backhand, saved by Marshall. And did he get the whistle? Yes, he didn't. He kind of thought about holding on to it. Then he played it after the whistle went. So we'll have a draw coming up in the RPI zone. But we saw it against, I believe it was Harvard. A breakaway stop by Marshall. We see it again here. A shorthanded try from Dylan Garrow.
A nice stop by Marshall. He wanted to put that one back in play, but he had to cover it up long enough for Brett Gervais to not have an opportunity on a rebound, which is what drew the whistle. So a good play nonetheless by Lyndon Marshall.
Keeping the Engineers in it. He's done it all week. This is the 3rd game of the week for RPI. A 2-2 tie against Harvard, a 2-1 overtime win against St. Lawrence. Now a 2-0 deficit here. The goalie can give you 1 to 2 goals against tonight. It's a chance to win. Now the offense has to do its job. Minute 13 to go on the power play. Tyranese will shoot it in from center. Wrapped around to the far side, kicked at by Tho. And they're going to blow this one down for offside. They'll force the face-off outside the zone, but not the end of the world. Engineers have a whistle here. Minute 8 to go on the power play. 3:58 left in the 3rd. It's 2-0 Clarkson.
Looking for an opportunity to go over the Clarkson goal. Their 2nd goal of the evening, scored at 10:51 of the 3rd period power play goal by Nico Sturm. His 8th of the season, with the assists going to Sheldon Rempel and Terrence Amorosa. That's the 2nd assist of the night for Rempel.
Jared Wilson chips it nearly past Amorosa. He's able to keep it alive for a moment. Nice job by Polino to keep it in the zone, and Wilson can't handle a bouncing puck. Lobbed high in the air, center ice. Patrick Polino tracking it down. Shot near side for Wilson. Wilson stick handling now. He'll carry in. Bouncing puck gathered in by the Golden Knights. Garrow and cleared off the glass all the way down. 40 seconds to go in this crucial RPI 6th power play. They are 0-4-5, of course. And now a hook here. And a power play. Another one coming up for the Engineers as they'll just shoot it in. And this is going to be icing here on the Engineers. So RPI will go 5-on-3 on the trip for 24 seconds. So this is it.
This absolutely is it. There's no other way.
I know there's 3:14 left, but this is it, Tom.
They have to score in the next 24 seconds for the reasons I elucidated earlier. But now, if they can do that, they still have a power play to try to get the game time ball. So time continues to tick down. 3:14 left. RPI will spend much of the rest of this game on the power play should they not score. That said, they need to take advantage of the fact that they are on the power play. Now it's their turn to get a bunch of penalties. Power plays. They need to be the ones converting on them, where Clarkson was not converting on many of them earlier in the game. But ultimately, both of Clarkson's goals on the power play, so they converted as many times as they needed to.
And now we're going to get another here. Timeout.
I don't know if any of that really made sense, but on an ethereal level, when you consider the number of penalties in this game, and there have been there's more than I can count in a short amount of time. I'll say that much. According to what I'm looking at, Clarkson is 2 for 12 on the power play tonight, and RPI so far is 0 for 6, and going on their 7th. 5-on-3s, you have to convert in on them. Clarkson has had, I believe, 3, or might have 5-on-3s. 2. They've had 2. They had a 4-on-3. It's you got to convert when you get them. They're like money in the bank sometimes. You've got 2 extra guys. You pinch in, get them going left and right.
Did the Engineers pull Marshall here to go 6-on-3?
Oh, that's a good question. That's like it's the age-old question, really, when you consider late power play opportunities, and it's a trade-off. It always is. You get 6-on-3, but you give the other team a free shot from wherever they want to on the ice.
And the game's essentially like really over if it's 3-0.
Right. So I say you look at it. It's only 24 seconds of 5-on-3. So essentially, you're giving away the ghost if you still can't score on a 6-on-3. I say you leave the netminder in. They tell them what they're going to do.
Yeah. Shots are 33-19. Clarkson 5-on-3 hockey here. 24 seconds until Summers is on the box. Barring RPI tally. Battle for the puck behind the goal. Pinching in, Prapaves is trying to work it back to the point. Good hustle by Hayhurst to keep it alive. Jacob Hayhurst walking in top of the circle, near side Wilson. Back to Prapaves. They trade places down low. Liljegren back to Prapaves across. Wilson a one-timer. Blocked out to center. That should do it for the 5-on-3. As they moved back in by Prapaves. And now Hayhurst at the far wall. Still another minute and a half on this RPI power play. Hayhurst moving in. A shot was blocked. Rebound put off the goaltender by Liljegren. Far side Prapaves up top for Wilson. That shot stopped on the right pad. It'll be cleared out to center. Moving in now. Far side connection. Prapaves is on it. Stick handling. And now Wilson. Tight angle shot over the top. Gathered in by Hayhurst. Center blue line. Prapaves. 55 to go on the power play. Wilson, touch pass, far side, Hayhurst. Back up top for Wilson. 2 minutes to go in regulation. Engineers down 2-0. Stick handling, Hayhurst lost the handle. Comes free to the near half wall. Summers chopped at it but couldn't clear. Morrow, Summers does clear this time. Down the ice and on goal. Stopped there by Marshall. Half a minute to go on this power play. The Engineers 7th. Into the zone. Burgess walking in, he's knocked down, picked up by Whiffen. It was blocked in front by Dickinson. Though backhanded up the wall. Off comes Marshall. A minute 27 left. 6-on-5 now for the Engineers, or actually 6-on-4 for their 5 seconds. It's shot in. Penalty about to expire. Now it's over. Fed far side. Now we're 6-on-5. Riley backdoor feed. Deflected in front by Burgess. It was blocked away. Far side off the skate. It's Emil Orval. At the boards, he's dumped there. Chance for an empty netter. It's Nico Sturm. Nico Sturm has it. It's 3-0 with 56 seconds to go. Nico Sturm buries as he got past Will Riley. Diving effort, couldn't keep it out.
I think RPI might have some beef on that play. Aaron Tho put Emil Orval into the boards pretty hard after the puck was already gone. Orval could have potentially tracked that one down. No call behind the play. And Clarkson converts for the empty netter. But really, this game, I think, was pretty much over at the point that RPI wasn't able to convert the 5-on-3. It was seriously over by the time that they weren't able to convert on the remaining power play time. You have to really tip your cap to the Clarkson penalty kill late in this one. They came up big when they had to, and they've managed to secure for themselves yet another 4-point weekend for the Golden Knights. They will be 10-0 in league play after tonight.
Engineers gave it a shot here this evening. They certainly stayed in the game, especially with all the penalties they took. You have to think this one might have been a little bit different if they were able to stay out of the box through the first half of this one, and really all the way throughout. Now Tommy Grant through center. Morello at the blue line. Worked it ahead for Jaron Burke. 34 seconds to go. So with 3-0 Clarkson lead. Burke knocked down, puck out to center ice. Marshall back in there. And we get a whistle here and an icing call.
Interestingly enough, Clarkson is going to complete the year sweep of their Liberty League opponents in the ECAC, having beaten Union twice, having beaten their arch rivals from St. Lawrence twice, having beaten RPI 3 times now. That's, I guess, a little bit bragwell in and of itself. Although it's kind of pale in comparison to really what the rest of Clarkson is doing this year, which is really phenomenal.
It'll be 14 in a row for the Golden Knights. Riley centering, shot by Liljegren, blocked down. Got the right boot of McCarthy. On his way through, now Moore, back to Riley. And now worked into the zone by Moore, around to the far side. And that one hits the linesman, and that'll do it. 3-0, the Clarkson win here, as they take this one. And improve, as Tom mentioned, to 10-0 in ECAC hockey play. That's their 18th win of the year. 18-3-1 overall. RPI loses for the 16th time. Some square numbers though for RPI: 4-16-4. They drop to 3-8-2 with a lead.
And to be really fair, the 3-0 kind of makes the game look worse than it really was from RPI's perspective. They were in this one more or less all the way. It was a very closely played game. It was a tight game for nearly the entirety of it. Could have gone either way. And at the end of the day, the difference in this one was Clarkson being able to execute a couple of times on the power play. I don't want to lavish that power play with effuse praise, because they had far more opportunities than they really needed in this one in order to be successful, and they still ended up making this one a close game. So ultimately, I think that the story of this one for both teams was just the ability on the penalty kill that both teams showed throughout the game. I thought both of these squads did a tremendous job when they were shorthanded, and hats off to them. But honestly, especially RPI, should not have been shorthanded as many times as they were. And that's what lost RPI the game. They just needed to stay out of the penalty box, and they didn't. And that's why they're going off to defeat tonight, because realistically, when you look at the game at 5-on-5, it was a very evenly played game. And I think some might be able to say that, or might be willing to say that the ice might have been in RPI's favor at 5-on-5 in this game.
I certainly was, and before the barrage of penalties came, I felt like the Engineers had the upper hand in the first period. And then you take a penalty and another one, and it really, it's really taxing. And I think you saw it firsthand how tough it is when you take 11 penalties, 12 penalties in a game to have any kind of offensive flow. And that's what we saw. We didn't even really get a real good test or a look at Latinovich, because he spent half the time with his team up a man. So I mean, he was good enough, and there's a couple times where I thought he fought some rebounds that a more veteran goalie like Kiley gobbles up. But for the most part, he did what he was supposed to do. He got the shutout win in his first collegiate game. You got to give him credit where credit's due.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he did what he had to do, and you know, he's not going to he's certainly going to take it if he's watching all the play going on.
Sure.
With his team on the power play, I'm sure he's not going to mind that. And any good goaltender needs their spells occasionally, whether you're Jake Kiley getting the night off or Nicholas Latinovich getting to take whole swaths of gameplay off, just being able to sit back and watch his team try and put it in the net on the other side. So yeah, I agree. We didn't really get the chance to really explore the second choice up in Potsdam tonight. He looked certainly very worthy.
Yeah,
but we didn't really get a chance to see if he was going to make massive saves, massive number of saves, spectacular saves. A lot of them were more or less, I don't want to say run-of-the-mill, but they weren't super strange. He made one or two really nice grabs that you have to give him a lot of credit for. But ultimately, the story of the game, we've said it over and over again, the penalties. And, referees have discretion as to whether they're going to call penalties or not. Some would say that you can call 20 penalties in any game, or you can just choose to call very few penalties in a game. And obviously, the game plan for the officials tonight was to call penalties, but that doesn't absolve either team of their responsibility to not put themselves in a position where they're going to get called. So if you want to put some blame down, you can't do it to the officials. It's all on your team.
Right.
I mean, and so RPI is the architect of their own disaster tonight by going to the box as many times as they did, and then giving Clarkson the opportunities that they needed to score the 2 power play goals that were ultimately the difference in this one.
Exactly, and Latinovich did have to make 10 stops in the third once the Engineers, I guess, for more or less started staying out of the box. Yeah, but 21 stops on the night for Latinovich, 31 for Marshall, who continued to play well. Remember, 31 out of 33, the empty net goal scored, not against him, of course. Over on the scoring here, 12:32 the first period, a power play goal by Kelly Summers from Sheldon Rempel, and Evan Broslow made it 1-0. Then at 10:51 of the second, another power play goal, Nico Sturm from Rempel and Amorosa, before Nico Sturm picked up his 9th, his second goal of the game. Aaron Tho with the lone assist there. That's all the scoring in this one, Tom. It was the 2 power play goals, but they didn't feel like for some reason, it didn't feel like 2 power play goals because they had so many opportunities. Also the second goal came on the rush, which kind of threw off my vision of it. But it was because of a 3-on-2, 2-on-2, 3-on-2 situation. You don't see a lot of RPI had a couple guys caught up ice at the time, and it proved costly as that was the second goal. Not really the backbreaker, but with how the game was going, I thought this is going to be tough to come back from 2 when the Engineers have so much trouble staying out of the box.
Absolutely. Both of the goals were not what you would consider typical, but especially with the first one came just after the Engineers had killed off a big 5-on-3, so that you kind of got over that hump, but then suddenly a goal, and then, as you mentioned, the other one was more on the rush. It wasn't really a typical power play goal. So yeah, that's just that's the way the cookie crumbles for the Engineers. It was always going to be a tough game for them tonight. They put themselves behind the 8 ball, but they still hung in there and gave Clarkson a run for their money throughout this game. And as I said, the 3-0 tally really not an indicative of how the game was played. It was a very tight checking, physical, but really outstanding two-way game. My RPI offensive and defensive players of the game, on offense, it's always tough to pick somebody out when you're going home with no goals, and for the Engineers, this is 3 straight games and 10 straight periods without scoring against Clarkson. But there were some bright spots out there, and I really want to tip my cap again to Billy Jerry, who had 3 shots today and was creating opportunities. He almost scored on a redirect on the power play late in the 3rd period. So he's really kind of been a revelation for the Engineers, who had a freshman class that coming into the year there weren't a whole lot of firm expectations, because there was a lot that we didn't know about the incoming class, especially considering that a lot of them had been late commits to RPI. But Billy Jerry really has been one of the bright spots for RPI this season. He's kind of emerged as a player that has a lot of potential. He's already been contributing really well to this team, and I think that he was closest to putting the puck in the net tonight. Absolutely. He scored the game's first goal last night, and he was buzzing tonight as well. So Billy Jerry, my offensive engineer of the game. Defensively, a lot of times these games absolutely do come down to goaltending, and for the Engineers, in the last 3 games this week, that has been Lyndon Marshall putting his team in a position to win games by giving them the width that they need to succeed. The Engineers won one, they lost one, and they drew in one this week. And a lot of that is thanks to the role that Lyndon Marshall has played in net. He was the team's top penalty killer this evening. I don't want to say it was by far, because the overall effort for RPI in the penalty kill was necessarily strong, but a good night overall for Lyndon Marshall. 31 saves on 33 shots, kept Clarkson completely out of the net while he was on the ice at even strength. So you can't ask for much more from your goaltender. And if he can keep up this kind of play, he's going to keep RPI in games throughout the rest of this season, and that's a good sign for the Engineers going forward. So Lyndon Marshall, my defensive engineer of the game. Looking elsewhere, most of these games are finals, or at least are close to wrapping up. As mentioned earlier today, Quinnipiac and Harvard skated to a 2-2 tie in Boston. Very late in the third period, this game about to go final, and it just has. Cornell defeats Brown 3-1 in Providence. Princeton 6-3 winners at Dartmouth. Late in the third period in Schenectady, Union is holding on to a 5-4 lead over St. Lawrence. Mike Marnell has just scored to cut the Union lead in half, so there's just a 1-goal lead late in that one. And a final from Yale, the Bulldogs take down Colgate by a score of 5-1. So that is some bad news for the Engineers, as Princeton's victory has moved them back ahead of RPI, so they will go into next week back down in 11th place. Although if the score in Schenectady holds, they'll still have a 7-point lead over the Saints, so it really may be nowhere to go but up for the Engineers from here. I want to thank Kurt Stutt for a little bit of technical advice to us before the game. Also want to thank Joe Yurden and Dave Starman for appearing here during our intermissions, and thank them for their knowledge and expertise they have brought to what really was a fun broadcast for us. We also want to thank the Rensselaer Union. They provide the funding for WRPI. All of the club-related activity of the Institute, including WRPI's coverage of RPI hockey, football, and baseball. Just a reminder, WRPI is on the World Wide Web. Point your browser to WRPI.org. And you can pick up WRPI's broadcast 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. As long as WRPI is broadcasting, we provide that broadcast on our internet stream. Once again, that's WRPI.org. Our next WRPI sports broadcast will be on Friday, January 19th, as the RPI Engineers travel to New England to take on the Brown Bears at Meade Auditorium in Providence, Rhode Island. That game will be having a puck drop of 7:05 p.m., so you can expect an on-air time of about 6:50. Again, that is Friday, January 19th, as the Engineers begin what is, I guess, technically a 5-game road trip. They have 2 ECAC weekends broken up by the Mayor's Cup game in Albany, but they will be at Brown and Yale next weekend, and specifically at Brown on Friday. I want to thank John Clark back at the station for getting us out there and keeping us out there. And that should just about do it here from the Fieldhouse. Your final score between RPI and Clarkson. Clarkson Golden Knights win their 10th straight ECAC contest, stay undefeated in league play by taking down the Engineers by a score of 3-0. You've been listening to live coverage of Engineers hockey, 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy.